Yo legends! Welcome back to the channel. Grab your headphones and lock in, because today's story is on another level. Want the next chapter? Drop a comment below, and if the legend continues, I'm bringing it straight to you. Disclaimer: I do not claim ownership of this story. All rights belong to the original creators. Note: I'm constantly tweaking the settings to make it as immersive as possible. What if a Hyuga awakened the corpse bone pulse? Chapter 1, Bamboo Cutter? Hyuga. Chapter 1, Bamboo Cutter? Hyuga tired exclamation, so tired exclamation. Her body felt as heavy as a stone. Her eyelids seemed to have been sewn shut, and the girl, covered in blood, lay on the ground struggling to open her eyes, her small chest heaving with heavy breathing. Under the cover of night, the dim, yellow crescent moon was lackluster, exuding a sense of listlessness and despondency. The pervasive fog seemed to solidify, and with just a normal breath, the strong smell of rust mixed in with the fog filled the alveoli, bringing a terrifying feeling of drowning. Where is this? The unfamiliar setting quickly brought the girl to her senses. Lower your head. As far as the eye could see, it was all black and red blood. So much blood. On the land that had been plowed by the giant beast, red blood and black mud mingled together. Countless mangled corpses lay scattered on the ground. Congealed black blood mixed with the scattered body parts, forming a heap, with limbs and fragments indistinguishable from one another. Shattered skulls, stark white, and internal organs, red and green, lay in pools of blood like peeled and chopped fruit flesh in jelly. As the girl gradually regained consciousness, a chill ran down her spine. The scene, resembling a human slaughterhouse, was truly terrifying. She had worked overtime until 5 a.m. the previous night, and upon returning to her cramped rented room, she collapsed onto the bed, disoriented. When I woke up again, this was the scene before me. Am I dead? Is this hell? Ugh, my head hurts so much. A sudden, searing pain shot through his brain. Clutching his head, Huey rolled around in the pile of corpses. It felt as if his skull had been drilled through, his brain matter churning, fragments of memory appearing and disappearing in his mind. Until I opened my eyes again. The milky white pupils reflected specks of gray light a long time. As the excruciating pain subsided, Huey finally managed to sort through the memories in her mind and discovered an absurd reality. She traveled through time, or rather, she was reincarnated. The body's name is Taketori Harry. Female, 6 years old. The shared bloodline of the Taketori clan of Kirigakure in the Land of Water and the Hyuga clan of Konoha in the Land of Fire. Her mother was a member of the Hyuga main clan. During the Third Shinobi World War, she was captured by Ao, a ninja from Kirigakure, causing her to lose her Byakugan bloodline limit. She was later rescued by Taketori Harry's father, and the two fell in love and had a daughter. Because she inherited her mother's Byakugan, but her pupil had a faint grayish tinge, she was named Taketori Harry. Hyuga. Taketori? Is this the Hokage? So the current timeline is the massacre of the Taketori clan. Looking at her childish little hands covered in blood, Huey couldn't believe her suspicions. It's ridiculous. The memories flooding her mind made Huey feel as if her worldview from the past 30 years had completely collapsed. Her arms trembled as she supported her body, her muscles aching and tearing as if she had been in the gym for a year. She stood up unsteadily, the headless corpses scattered around her, and the overwhelming bloodstains making her feel both dizzy and familiar. The scene from my childhood, which should have been blurry, reappeared as if time had reversed. Suppressing the churning in his stomach, he reached inside the corpse's blood-stained clothes and quickly pulled out a small white medicine bottle from the inner pocket. The medicine bottle felt cold to the touch. The surface is printed with a red circle, with 2 red dots on either side of the central axis inside the circle, basically coinciding with the circumference. In Huey's memory, this is a unique symbol belonging to the Bamboo clan. The 2 dots on either side of the circle symbolize authority and balance. With practiced ease, he pried open the bottle, and a brown pill the size of a thumb rolled smoothly into his palm. Gum. Without the energy to count how many pills there were, He dumped them all into his mouth. The pills were dry and hard in his mouth, and his mouth struggled to produce saliva to help him swallow. Even after half a bottle of soldier's ration pills had been down his throat, he still couldn't taste anything. The stomach and intestines worked together to grind the pills, and soon the power surged back into the body, warming the somewhat stiff and cold body. Soldier's ration pills. In the Naruto world, compressed biscuits are rich in nutrients and can replenish a ninja's chakra. Clan rations are limited in quantity, distributed to adult clan members to maximize their fighting power. The existence of this bottle of pills further confirmed Gray's belief in the reality of the world. Stepping on the blood-stained ground, while waiting for the soldier's rations to be digested, Hyuga silently sorted out her current situation. Based on memory. Last night, the Taketori clan fought a fierce battle with the Kirigakure Anbu who were surrounding their territory. The original owner, who possessed the Byakugan bloodline limit, broke through the encirclement with the main force of his clan as an intelligence agent and encountered the Anbu captain known as Ferocious Fang and his large-scale ninja force. Needless to say, the result is obvious. Her parents and entire clan were wiped out, and Hyuga was also killed instantly by an unknown member of the Secret Service who pierced her chest with a single knife, and so how did I survive? Touching the small but intact chest, the large bloodstains on the clothes and the cuts made by the blade filled Hyuga with doubt. That's it. How she survived wasn't important. The key was how she would continue to live. The situation was already set in stone, and her first thought was how to escape her predicament and do her best to survive. We need to figure out a way to escape Kirigakure first. Boom! Exclamation! A terrifying roar, mixed with several screams and towering flames, came from the east, before falling silent again. Is the battle not over yet? She is currently in the Kaguya clan's territory on the east side of Kirigakure, surrounded by Kirigakure's Anbu. Breaking through the encirclement would still keep her within Kirigakure's sphere of influence. To leave the village, she would need to break through another layer of ninja village defenses. The enemy is Kirigakure, one of the 5 great nations of the ninja world. And what do I have? Hyuga silently calculated her own capital. In this life, she was considered a minor genius among the bamboo-collecting clan. He extracted chakra at the age of 3 and successfully awakened his Byakugan at the age of 5 under his mother's guidance. Now 6 years old, his chakra reserves were comparable to those of a chunin. He was proficient in basic gentle fist, and all that remained was the E-rank 3 body technique that every ninja possessed, as well as these corpses scattered all over the ground. Arrange your own capital in descending order. The ration pills in his stomach completely dissolved and digested, and a large amount of bodily energy gathered from his limbs and bones to his dantian, bursting forth along the meridians towards his heart. Invisible spiritual energy converged at the sea of consciousness between his eyebrows and descended. Nothingness and existence, the two gathered and transformed at the chakra seed in his heart, and the pale blue chakra rose within him like the morning sun illuminating the heavens and earth. The heart pumps in tandem with the chakra seed. The power flows throughout the body along with the blood. With her weakness subsiding, Hyuga didn't rush to escape. Without breaking through the encirclement and blockade of the Hidden Mist Division, any attempt to escape will be futile. And if they wish to break through the blockade, battle will likely be unavoidable. Their immediate priority is to enrich themselves, thus creating more room for maneuver in the future. They lifted up the corpses on the ground one by one. Familiar figures, now covered in blood, stared blankly at the sky with lifeless eyes. Among them were Hyuga's friends, neighbors, and childhood companions, as well as members of the Hidden Mist Anbu wearing masks and ninja vests. Soldier pellets, shuriken, explosive tags. Hyuga dissected the corpses indiscriminately, carefully collecting the valuable resources she gleaned, essential assets for her future survival. Lying on the ground, tidying up the scattered remains, the pungent smell of blood filled her nostrils. She felt like a hyena scavenging on the African savanna. But hyenas mostly travel in packs, and I, a lone wolf, am probably more like a stray dog on the roadside. Tilda seemingly amused by her own lame joke. Li chuckled and solemnly folded up the few explosive tags she had left, stuffing them into her pocket. After a major battle, these resources were either completely exhausted or soaked in water and blood, leaving very few usable. Organize your personal belongings. Look up again. Ahead lay another corpse of an Anbu member, its legs twisted and wearing a mask with a misty raindrop-shaped mark on its forehead. Li walked over with delight, her small hand eagerly reaching into the ninja tool pouch at the lower back of the body. Based on her experience of looting corpses, these secret agents would have slightly better equipment than the Taketori clan. A small hand reached into the backpack. It was warm to the touch, but completely empty inside and many more. How can a body that has been dead for a long time be warm? As the thought flashed through her mind, Li's body suddenly stiffened because she touched a warm, large hand in her ninja tool pouch. Exclamation suddenly. A large hand suddenly grabbed Li's wrist and dragged her over. Li's deathly gray pupils contracted to the size of pinholes due to tension. She instinctively shook her hands and struggled, but the enemy's large hands gripped her wrists like steel clamps, and she couldn't break free for a moment. The Anbu corpse, which was thought to be dead on the ground, suddenly opened its eyes. With its left hand, it gripped Li's wrist, and with its right hand, it grabbed a kunai that it had somehow found and slashed at Li's slender throat. The world seemed to slow down. The enemy's mask bore comically long, narrow, and crooked eyes, their pupils bloodshot and filled with murderous intent. Li jerked her head back to dodge the fatal throat-slitting wound. The sharp kunai flashed with a dazzling light, slicing through her blood-scabbed hair. She could even see the gaping wounds that appeared on the kunai's edge after countless battles. The man was startled to see Li nimbly dodge the long-planned fatal blow. He continued to restrain Li's wrist with his left hand, while his right hand, holding a kunai, drew a semicircle in the air before thrusting it towards her brow. The movements were smooth and swift. The attack methods were exceptionally fierce and vicious, with each move aimed at Li's vital parts. With no way to avoid it at that moment, Li had no time to think. A hint of madness flashed in his pale gray eyes. He grabbed the enemy's wrist with his right hand from his ninja tool pouch, and with his left hand, he also picked up a kunai and stabbed it towards the enemy's head and face. Beneath the blood mist, on the battlefield strewn with corpses, two lucky survivors, struggling to their feet amidst the corpses of their companions, held hands and fought desperately with kunai laugh exclamation. The sharp tip of the kunai pierced between his eyebrows, and crimson blood flowed down from his brow bone, as if a red paintbrush had divided his face in two. Li's eyes widened, her arms stretched out forward with all her might, the tip of her kunai weakly tugging at the other's clothes but unable to go any further. End of this chapter. Chapter 2 Corpse Bone Pulse. Chapter 2 Corpse Bone Pulse. What does it feel like to get shot in the head by a sniper rifle at this moment? Li knew a little bit about it. The sharp, cold iron object pierced her brow bone with an eerie heat. Her brain secreted a large amount of adrenaline to suppress the pain. Memories of her past and present lives flashed by like a noisy, complex, and overwhelming slideshow, leaving her somewhat dazed. But soon, as the adrenaline subsided, intense pain swept through every inch of his body. A burning, constricting pain shot through his brow like red-hot iron wreaking havoc inside him, especially the skull injury, which was even more severe and prolonged, feeling as if he were being roasted on fire. Is this the end? Is this how my life of over 30 years is going to end? Intense pain between her eyebrows and the strong impact on her brain made Li's consciousness somewhat dazed. The constantly flowing blood stained his eyes red. Don't want to die. I don't want to die. The intense unwillingness seemed to completely awaken Li's will to survive. His deathly gray eyes suddenly gleamed, and the veins around his eyes bulged, like tree roots taking root in his flesh and blood to continuously draw nutrients. The world before my eyes suddenly became clear and transparent. Countless memories and thoughts coalesced into a single idea. The will to survive grew wildly like a mighty iron thorn. The brain was activated by intense pain. Amidst a buzzing roar, it was as if a switch within the body had been suddenly flipped. Infinite power surged from every part of the body. The bones and muscles seemed to awaken self-awareness, fully activating. Squeak, squeak. Strange squeezing sounds emanated from the skull, like the soles of shoes rubbing against snow and ice crystals, or like a terrifying beast chewing its prey with sharp teeth. Before him were the girl's eerie gray eyes, and in his ears came strange noises emanating from inside her head. The Anbu member, whose legs had been crippled, instantly sensed something was wrong. His muscles tensed, and he forcefully plunged the kunai in his hand into the brow of the strange girl in front of him. But it can't be inserted. Seeing the enemy's eyes widen suddenly, Li, with a kunai stuck in his forehead and his face covered in blood, smirked. His smile was ferocious and terrifying. Chakra suddenly surged into his brow bone. Squeak! Squeak! Exclamation! The kunai let out a miserable scream, overwhelmed by the burden. The hard steel twisted and deformed, and then, to the horrified gaze of the hidden mist members, the steel kunai was snapped in two by gray glass using his brow bone. Clang! The broken kunai fell to the ground with a crisp sound. Monster! A monster! The Dark Division member braced himself on the ground and retreated in fear, but unfortunately, with his legs crippled, he was unable to create any distance. They could only watch in terror as the monster in human skin stood up straight again under the moonlight. The girl stretched out her right hand and held it in front of her face, her lifeless pupils between her fingers appearing even more sinister. The tips of the 5 fingers protrude from the stark white bones, tapering and narrowing to a long, slender blade. Its thin layer resembles the world's sharpest scalpel, dazzling to behold at a single glance. The bone blades were fully formed, and the 5 bone blades transformed the girl's delicate, fair hands into the claws of a wild beast. Claws tear the air apart. The secret agents instinctively looked up to avoid it. His gray eyes locked on the enemy, completely seeing through their actions. With almost no pause, the claws swiftly changed direction, anticipating the sweeping motion and precisely intercepting the moving head. Amidst screams, the mask bearing the mist shadow mark shattered instantly, and below, an unidentified handsome young man with his head and face torn to pieces collapsed helplessly to the ground, the red and white substances staining the soil, adding another layer of bloody mud to the scene. Nightfall. The clouds and mist dissipated. A large expanse of moonlight spilled onto the ground, draping the young man before them in a silvery cloak. Whoosh! Retract the bone claw. Having survived the ordeal, Li collapsed to the ground, panting. Her heart was pounding, as if a mad deer was pounding against her chest. He carefully pulled out the broken blade, which was bent between his eyebrows, and strangely, no blood flowed out. Chakra surged to the center of the brow and was rapidly consumed, like gasoline burning intensely in the fuel tank of a speeding sports car. Osteocytes rapidly divided and multiplied, repairing and filling the gap above the brow bone. The damaged skin wriggled and gathered towards the center, and the skin, flesh, and blood vessels automatically glued together, emitting steam-like vapor. In the blink of an eye, the vertical eye between his brows vanished without a trace, as if the terrifying injury he had just suffered was merely a terrifying illusion. Li was not surprised by the abnormality in her body. Corpse bone vein. The limits of blood succession of the Taketori clan. The ability to freely manipulate all the bones in the body for defense or attack. Anything related to bones, such as osteoblasts, osteoclasts, and calcium concentration, can be manipulated without restriction, allowing for bone formation, decomposition, or hardening. Because bones pierce tendons and skin when pulled from the body, the corpse bone vein also possesses a self-healing ability to rapidly heal external injuries. However, this is only a superficial introduction to the corpse bone pulse in the original work. As a true member of the Bamboo clan, Harry has a more detailed and comprehensive understanding of her clan's bloodline limit. In my memory, the Kaguya clan called the ability of the Shikotsumyaku corpse bone pulse to manipulate bones complete awakening, also known as second stage awakening. Healing injuries and simply manipulating flesh and blood is first stage awakening, or half awakening. The Kaguya clan was able to dominate a region and become famous throughout the ninja world simply by relying on their taijutsu. It doesn't rely on the rare second-tier awakening that only appears once every few decades, but rather on the semi-awakened state that most adult members of the Bamboo clan can possess. The so-called semi-awakened state of the corpse bone vein. With hard bones and well-developed tendons, it can unleash superhuman strength beyond human limits, regardless of injury. It possesses a powerful self-healing ability that allows it to rapidly recover from non-fatal wounds. Its body automatically sutures wounds to prevent excessive blood loss, maximizing its stamina in prolonged battles. Finally, it has an unstoppable adrenaline rush, becoming increasingly excited with each battle, and possesses a powerful fighting instinct that allows it to continue fighting the enemy even when unconscious, relying solely on muscle memory. It can be said that every semi-awakened member of the Bamboo Cutter clan is an absolute berserker, a corpse demon who is unafraid of pain and death. That is why this battlefield was so brutal. Under the vast moonlight, most of the corpses of the Bamboo Grove members were in tattered state, making it difficult to even identify them. This wasn't because anyone was so cruel as to even mutilate corpses. It was simply that the Kaguya clan was too powerful and too difficult to kill. Some Kaguya even fanatically viewed the intact corpses of their fallen comrades as a symbol of shame and weakness. No wonder I didn't die. Li gently stroked the smooth skin between her brows, then looked down at the large bloodstains on her chest. She immediately understood why the original owner of this body could survive even after being stabbed through the chest. It must have been that after her memories of her past life awakened, her corpse bone vein partially awakened during a life-or-death crisis, helping to heal the knife wound on her chest. I only activated my white eyes just now when I was fighting for my life. It seemed that the corpse bone pulse was fully activated by the Byakugan, and it leaped into the second stage awakening state, helping her resist the enemy's fatal thrust and thus enabling her to counterattack and kill her opponent. Li struggled to her feet. The fear between life and death was immense. Her limbs felt weak and powerless. Although the kunai hadn't pierced her brain, its powerful impact and kinetic energy still made her dizzy and disoriented. She wished she could lie down among the corpses and fall asleep, cannot sleep. She slapped herself hard, the stinging pain forcing her to pull herself together. The undigested ration pills in his stomach quickly dissolved, and his depleted chakra reserves were used to provide energy for his actions. She had just rolled her eyes at everyone. The battle was nearing its end. The massive encirclement of the Hidden Mist Division contracted towards the center, with countless squads of the division roaming and moving across the battlefield. Only the eastern side was breached. Chakra was infused into the Byakugan, and the pale gray pupils gradually darkened in color. The forest receded rapidly, and the world became more transparent. In the extreme distance of the white eye, the corpses of the Mist Shadow members, cloaked and wearing white masks, were piled up like mountains. Groups of pythons as thick as buckets left countless pits in the ground, and colorful, highly venomous snakes slithered and crawled like the loose threads of a knitted sweater densely covering the surface of the corpse pile. There's no need to say more about who the murderer is. Orochimaru rescued Kimimaro and they broke out from the east. If she wants to escape the encirclement of Kirigakure, this may be the only way out. Numerous chakra reactions appeared in my field of vision. Bai's eyes twitched slightly and his gray pupils contracted. Half a mile away, in the clear, dense forest, a small team of a dozen or so members of the Dark Guard were rushing towards Li at top speed. It moved so fast that it approached gray glass in just a few breaths. Exclamation! There was no time to see the enemy's specific information, let alone escape. Li collapsed to the ground instantly, her blood-stained face buried in the soil. Her corpse bone meridian activated rapidly, her limbs limp and twisted into shapes that no normal person could possibly achieve. If you don't look closely, you can see the extremely subtle undulations in the back, making it indistinguishable from a corpse. There was a long silence. Whoosh whoosh exclamation. A dozen or so members of the Mist Shadow Anbu leaped down from the tree branches. Their masks varied in shape, but they all wore the same standard dark skin uniforms. The leader had dark brown hair and wore a mask in the shape of a tengu. He was dressed in the uniform of the Kirigakure Anbu, and a cloak covered his body completely. Huilai buried her face in the soil. Rolling your eyes will induce a reaction. All the masks, clothing, and even skin and bones of the Anbu melted away, and a large amount of chakra in the meridians came into view. 1 elite Jonin, 3 special Jonin, and the rest were Chunin. The difference in strength between the enemy and ourselves was too great, and we could not fight them. Huilai held her breath, daring not to move an inch except for her eyes. Mist Raven, Dark Fox, Bloodhound, the 3 of you stay here to clean up the battlefield. Kill any remaining members of the Bamboo Cutter clan on the spot. The rest of you, come with me. Yes. The 3 ninjas answered in low voices. After giving the order, the Dark Army captain, wearing a great Tengu mask, turned and left, with many Dark Army members following suit and flying away. Only 3 Chunin remained on the field. Wearing a fox mask and a hood, the ninja of medium build possesses the most chakra. The ninja with the crow mask is slender with eerie gray-green hair. The Anbu member with the dog mask beside him is tall, nearly 2 meters, with short, blood-red hair that resembles steel needles. A murky stream of air slowly escaped from between his teeth. Lying on the ground, Huilai grinned, licking the mud on his red lips that was stained with a hint of blood. Whoosh exclamation without warning, the fox-faced masked figure raised his hand, and a shuriken flashing with cold light spun through the air and flew towards Grey Glass. Grey Glass's eyelids trembled, but her body remained motionless. The shuriken pierced precisely into the chest of a corpse next to Huilai. The distance was so close that she seemed to be able to clearly feel the tremor as the shuriken entered the flesh. What's wrong, Nether Fox? It's nothing, I think I just heard some noise over there. The ninja with the fox face mask nodded to the raven-faced ninja in the middle, indicating that there was no need to be nervous, and walked straight towards Huilai. The monsters that pluck bamboo are very stubborn, so be careful. The ninja with the crow-face mask couldn't help but remind him. Don't worry. The ring at the end of the kunai spun rapidly on his fingertip like a top as the man wearing the fox face mask walked straight to the corpse of a member of the Kaguya clan. This person was about 7 or 8 years old, similar in age to Harry. His limbs were broken and twisted as he lay on the ground, his face covered in blood, making it impossible to determine his gender. The spinning kunai stopped for a moment, then shot straight into his chest like a meteor puff. The kunai pierced the flesh, drawing out large amounts of blood. The small body on the ground trembled and curled up. Only the base of its broken limbs could move, and the ends twisted weakly as it crawled on the ground, whimpering unconsciously, like a puppy with its limbs broken. There were still survivors. Huilai, who was lying on the ground, was startled. She had just found a kunai on the child's body. The body was ice cold to the touch, and she thought the child was dead, but to her surprise, the child was still breathing. It's no use just living. The fox-faced operative formed hand seals and steadily threw 2 more kunai. After the victim fell silent, the operative slowly stepped forward and used the back of his foot to turn the child's body over. The kunai pierced the heart, extinguishing all life. Then he reached into the child's clothing and searched inside. Seeing that nothing unexpected had happened, the other 2 ninjas also went to other corpses and stabbed them one by one in the heart with kunai. Watching the ruthless assassin plunge a sharp weapon into the chest of the corpse, Huilai's face darkened, her fingers gripping the soil tightly. Having barely survived, and even managed to kill a Kirigakure Anbu member using the corpse bone pulse technique, I never expected to fall into another crisis in an instant. Damn it. The medical department's mortuary disposal team should be handling the corpses, not Ambu Ninja's exclamation. What are they looking for? As the three men rummaged through the corpses' pockets, Huey Li's mind raced, trying to find a glimmer of hope in this desperate situation. Time passed by minute. There weren't many intact corpses on the battlefield, and given that gray glass was very close to the corpse from before, the fox-faced Anbu quickly turned his attention to gray glass, and walked towards him with a kunai covered in sticky black blood in his hand. The enemy was getting closer and closer. Huey Li lay on the ground, her body tensing up instantly. Her stiff body, which had been still for a long time, trembled slightly. How to do? End of this chapter. Chapter 3 Blood Mist Flower. Chapter 3 Blood Mist Flower. Walk to a distance of about 3 meters from the body. The nether fox stopped moving. Looking down at the small, pale body lying on the ground, covered in blood, I couldn't help but sigh at the cruelty of the world. Unfortunately, this is Mist Hidden. He absolutely did not want his future children to live in such a village. My mind gradually relaxed. The fox spirit strode to the corpse, bent down and lifted it up. The girl's body was very light, so light that it didn't seem like a dead person. The thought had just formed in his mind before he could even come to his senses. Call out like a silenced pistol being fired. A pale, blood-streaked finger bone instantly pierced his throat. The excruciating pain in his throat made Minghu's eyes widen in agony, his mouth opening and closing weakly but unable to utter a sound. He looked in horror at the girl who lay quietly on the ground, her fingers barely moving as she slowly sat up, her face covered in blood. His gray eyes were filled with murderous intent, and the veins around his eyes made him look like a demon. That's a white eye, how can it be? He covered the bloody hole in his chin with both hands, his body trembled a few times, and finally collapsed to the ground with a thud. A cough. What happened? The unusual sound immediately attracted the attention of the other two, who, holding kunai, turned to look in their direction. He's still alive. A battlefield strewn with corpses. The man in the fox face mask half squatted on the ground, speaking calmly. He bent down and looked down into the bloodshot, terrified eyes beneath the identical fox mask, his knee pressing against the chest of the man on the ground in a concealed spot. The fox, coughing up blood, collapsed to the ground and struggled desperately. Mudchi ho-ho. Before the dark fox could finish speaking, long, slender fingers, like steel cones, were plunged firmly into the bright red hole in the man's throat. Hooking his knuckles like tweezers, he pulled out the severed finger bone, along with a precisely severed artery and trachea, which were deeply embedded in the flesh. The trachea, frothing with blood, drooped limply, occasionally emitting a sound like a straw sucking thin juice from the bottom of a beverage bottle. The fox struggled and twisted more violently, its legs kicking out 2 craters in the ground until it gradually lost all strength. A survivor. Not bad luck. The 2 Anbu members glanced at the Anbu uniform worn by the person lying on the ground from a distance, sighed, and then turned back to continue their search, completely unaware of their companion's unusual behavior. You guys keep looking. This person is dying. I'll take him to the hospital first. TCH. When did you become so kind? You're not thinking of sneaking back to find Naoko, are you? If we find the target, you won't get any credit. Without turning their heads, the 2 plunged the kunai into another corpse in the ground and said with a smile, glancing at the tattered, slaughtered members of the bamboo clan at the others' feet, resembling pigs in a slaughterhouse, the silent nether fox hoisted the person on its shoulder, lowered its eyes, and turned to leave. In the misty, dense forest, the sky was as black as a curtain. Moisture obscured the sky, the stars disappeared, and the wind swept away the clouds, making it seem as if a demonic star was descending upon the world. Carrying the corpse on her back, Huey Li, transformed into another fox, ran wildly through the tree branches. The still warm corpse bled, staining its back red. With its legs rapidly pushing off the branches, the lush foliage swept past its sides at a speed comparable to a car traveling at high speed. Whoosh! The weight on her back was rapidly draining her strength, but she was entirely relying on the corpse to allow her to move freely within the encirclement blocked by countless secret agents. Within 10 minutes, she encountered 4 waves of spies from the fog shadows. Fortunately, the white eye helps with reconnaissance. If she encounters a team with Jonin-level strength, she'll avoid them if possible. If she can't avoid them, she'll just charge straight at a Chunin-level team. The opponent's levels aren't higher than the person she's transformed into, and seeing her carrying the wounded, they don't dare to interfere. And so she miraculously broke through the ambu's blockade and entered the Hidden Mist Village. That's right, inside Kirigakure Hidden Mist Village. The Bamboo Clan's territory is located on the eastern side of Kirigakure Village, and you can leave the village directly by going further east. Originally, she planned to use the gap opened by Orochimaru to escape from the east, but seeing so many Kirigakure Anbu going to provide support, going further east would be too risky. She is in very poor condition right now. The 3 wounds, chest, head, and back, were all fatal. Although the powerful healing ability of the Shikotsumyaku had healed them, the chakra consumption was real. Right now, she's struggling to maintain her transformation technique and Byakugan with her current chakra. If it weren't for the soldiers' ration pills in her stomach, she would have already run out of ammunition and food. Rather than going east to fight the Anbu head-on, it would be better to do the opposite. Think in reverse. Go west into the central area of Kirigakure, find a place to stay until dawn, and then figure out a way to leave the village. This would be less risky and more appropriate. Hyuga glanced back at the gradually cooling shadows on her back. This person is very cautious. Even when faced with a seemingly dead corpse, he would first throw a shuriken to test the waters before daring to get close. If it weren't for her special ability to manipulate flesh through her bone veins, stimulating the body to secrete adrenaline to shield against pain, and contracting muscles and blood vessels to control blood flow, she probably wouldn't have been able to harm him. Are all the Anbu members of Kirigakure of this caliber? This is really bad news. They ran for a while. The injury on my back has been fully healed. The bone inside my index finger is growing, causing a tingling, itchy sensation similar to a mosquito bite. Corpse bone veins 10 fingers penetrate bullets. Using chakra, he shoots out the finger bones with great speed and power. In the original work, even Gaara's absolute defense could only barely block it. Since it was her first time using this ability, she wasn't sure how fast it was, so she could only try to trick the enemy into getting close. Now it seems that this technique is incredibly powerful and has an extremely fast firing speed. Even her Byakugan could only barely see a trace of its trajectory. In addition, the fact that it does not require hand seals makes it extremely difficult for ordinary ninjas to react. With her fingers piercing bullets, combined with the 360-degree transparent world she gains after activating her Byakugan, it's comparable to X-ray vision and aimbot in an FPS game. If you start with 0 frames, you'll be instantly killed if you can't react in time. Tom! Hyuga kicked the tree trunk in front of her, using the force to offset her forward momentum, and landed lightly, standing still under the tree. 1 kilometer away. A 6-person mist shadow squad traveled along her route. She waited for their paths to diverge from hers, and continued towards Kirigakure. White eyes, corpse bone veins. Although she would face pursuit from Kirigakure, one of the 5 great nations, as soon as she woke up, her body was indeed well equipped, giving her a lot of room to maneuver and preventing her from facing death immediately upon waking. Fog hidden hospital. Quickly make way. A shrill female voice cleared away the human-shaped obstacle. Nurses pushed medical carts through the corridor. Tonight, the hidden mist Anbu clashed with the Taketori, resulting in numerous wounded. In the hospital, nurses and doctors were working tirelessly, while the usually agile Anbu ninjas lay on gurneys, screaming and groaning, some already lifeless. Quick, doctor carrying the wounded. The dark agent, wearing a mask with a misty, raindrop-shaped marking, rushed into the hospital shouting anxiously. Doctors and nurses hurriedly came over to check on him. "This person, are you his family member?" "No, we both belong to the Dark Division, but I don't know his name." "He's dead." "Normally, we should prepare to notify his family, but as you can see, our hospital is extremely busy right now. I'll go and inform him, but I don't know his home address." "Don't worry, we have records of every ninja who has been to the hospital. I'll check for you." The kind-hearted, 40-something-year-old Iron Maiden nurse looked at the handsome young man who had taken off his mask, and her efficiency was unprecedented. "Got it. Hoshinohara Sora, married, wife Amasaka Naoko, lives a thank you, nurse." The handsome young man revealed a sunny smile, and his tight-fitting dark-clad outfit gave him a unique sense of neatness and crispness. "You are welcome." The nurse cupped her face in her hands, her tone becoming even gentler. "Sweetie, Daddy's gone on a mission." Naoko Amasaka leaned against the sofa in the living room, her long black hair cascading down her cheeks, adding to her gentle and graceful appearance. Stroking her round belly, a faint worry appeared on her slightly fleshy, happy face. She's been married to Hoshino Sora for almost a year, and she's about to become a mother. The Anbu missions are fraught with danger, and every time Hoshino goes on a mission, she worries and can't sleep. Missions in the shadows are dangerous, but the rewards are substantial. He always said he wanted to leave Kirigakure, leave the land of water, and move to a bigger house to live a better life. But Naoko Amasaka didn't care about any of that. In her view, it's enough as long as the family can live happily together every day. Yuan Kong has saved up a lot of money over the years. Maybe I should persuade him again in a few days to retire from the Anbu and become a teacher at the Ninja Academy. The income may not be much, but it's safe and stable, and I won't have to live in constant fear. We can't let him have his way anymore. Even if it means having a huge fight with him, we have to make him quit his job in the Dark Division." Naoko Amasaka secretly made up her mind. Dong dong dong. A sudden knock on the door interrupted her thoughts. "Ishino's back. How come so soon?" Naoko Amasaka got up in confusion, her pregnant belly protruding, and walked warily to the door. "Who is it?" "Naoko, it's me." A familiar, deep male voice came from outside the door, and Naoko Amasaka's beautiful face immediately relaxed, blossoming into a bright smile. Click. The door opens. Hoshino, exuding a bloody aura and dressed in Anbu attire, stood in front of the door. His deep, cold features were somewhat stiff, and his eyes were fixed on Amasaka Naoko. "Why are you staring at me like that?" "It's kind of scary." Naoko Amasaka gave a coquettish laugh, her husband's undisguised gaze making her a little shy. Hoshinohara Sora didn't say anything, but closed and locked the door, and pulled Amasaka Naoko into her arms. "Ugh, you're covered in blood." "It's just one mission, how cheesy." Faced with her lover's embrace, Naoko Amasaka feigned disgust, but a radiant smile appeared on her face. She nestled happily in Hoshino's arms, resting her chin on the man's broad shoulders, her arms tightly wrapped around Hoshino's waist as if afraid he would escape. The same was true for Hoshino, whose back was covered in blood. Puff. A happy smile froze on his face. Naoko Amasaka lowered her head, trembling, her bewildered face contorted in pain. The jagged bone spurs pierced her body like flower stamens, and blood splattered out, staining her dark blue nightgown a brick reddish brown. The excruciating pain in her chest and abdomen felt as if her entire body had been torn in two. Naoko Amasaka looked blankly at her lover's expressionless, resolute face with her chestnut-colored eyes. You're not." He grabbed Naoko's head with his large hand. The bones in her chest and abdomen seemed to be churning inside Naoko's abdominal cavity like a giant python. A thick arm encircled the woman's struggling waist, letting her kick weakly until she completely collapsed. Tick-tock, fresh blood slid down the bone. It was confirmed that the young woman in his arms was completely dead. Ishino Gensu deactivated the transformation technique. In a cloud of dust, a girl covered in blood and with thorn-like bone spurs protruding from her chest and abdomen embraced Naoko, her lifeless eyes holding an inscrutable expression. The body was gently placed on the floor. The ribs protruding from the sides of the abdomen automatically broke and decomposed into debris. The skin writhed and contracted, returning to its smooth state, leaving only 2 rows of tears on the clothes. Hyuga let out a heavy sigh and closed her eyes. She originally intended to knock Naoko Amasaka unconscious and ask her to stay at her house for a few nights, but she did not expect that the other party had chakra in her body, and the amount of chakra was more than that of her in her prime. Despite her young age, Hyuga's chakra reserves have already reached the Chunin level. This woman possesses even greater chakra reserves than her. In terms of chakra alone, she may have already reached the threshold of Jonin. Given her current state, unless she transforms into an acquaintance and decisively launches a sneak attack, the outcome is uncertain. Living room. Bright lights. Blood gushed out like lava, staining the brown carpet. Hyuga looked down at her own body. Large patches of blood were on his hair, face, and clothes. The dried blood had congealed into layers of scabs that clung to his body, giving off the stench he had long been accustomed to. Hyuga rubbed her forehead in frustration. The texture was slippery and sticky, which made her feel irritated. She wasn't a psychopathic killer. She killed 3 people in one go after transmigrating, including a pregnant woman. The impact on her, both mentally and physically, was considerable. But all she wanted was to survive. The hidden mist encirclement and slaughter of Bamboo Cutter cannot distinguish between children and women. Naoko Amasaka's body was dragged from the living room to the bathroom, where blood dripped onto the cold floor, where it was crushed and left long marks. The group of Anbu members were probably looking for something, and with Orochimaru interfering, plus the busy work of cleaning up the battlefield and tallying the wounded, they probably didn't have the energy to deal with her for the time being. Now I can finally take a break. Hyuga let out a weary breath. He tore off the tattered clothes stuck together by scabs, dragged Naoko Amasaka under the sink directly opposite the bathroom door, and then walked naked into the bathroom. End of this chapter. Chapter 4 Yuanshi. Chapter 4 Yuanshi. The bathroom was filled with steam. The oval showerhead sprayed out a stream of scalding hot water, turning the girl's scarlet hair silver gray. Barefoot, I stepped onto the clean white bathroom floor tiles, water flowing down my ankles. Not far away, the gradually cooling female corpse lay across the sink, her hands tucked under her round belly. The blood beneath her had already congealed, and her chestnut eyes stared blankly at the glaring light call controlling the showerhead to spray water onto her head, face, and waist. All grime and fatigue vanished. Hyuga stepped into the bathtub, lay down comfortably, and soaked in the warm water. Her silver hair floated and swayed like seaweed, bringing her endless enjoyment. This was her favorite form of entertainment in her previous life. After a long day at work, she is exhausted. When she gets home, has dinner, takes a nice hot bath, and gets a good night's sleep, that is the happiest time of her day. The warm water cleansed her soul, and her body became increasingly relaxed and supple. Gray glasses consciousness gradually dissipated, and she sank into darkness. Meanwhile, on the eastern side of the outskirts of Kirigakure, the once bustling clan territory of the Kekuya clan, renowned throughout the ninja world for their Shikotsumyaku corpse bone pulse, is now a ruin. The house collapsed, and the ancestral tablets were overturned and trampled on like bricks. More than 20 secret agents spread out, bending over and searching inch by inch. The very center of the clan's territory, the Anbu member, dressed in a gray-black cloak over a standard bodysuit and ninja armor, stood with his arms crossed, watching his respectful subordinate wearing a Odingu mask. He wasn't wearing the standard mask for the Dark Guard. He had blue eyes, brown hair, a high and broad nose, and a cold and stern expression. This man was the Dark Guard's captain, codenamed Ferocious Fang. How long will this search take? Where is King? Faced with the captain's question, the Ambu member wearing the Great Tengu mask knelt on one knee. Lord King has been summoned by Master Yuan and cannot get away for the time being. Have you found any clues about what the fourth Hokage wants? The fierce-toothed creature stared at the Great Tengu in front of it, its deep blue eyes as dark as the ocean, bringing an indescribable sense of oppression. As a confidant of the fourth Mizukage, the captain commander of the Hidden Mist Village Anbu, and the leader of the civilian faction that was cracking down on bloodline clans, he was well aware of where his power came from and was most concerned about whether the missions assigned to him by the Mizukage could be completed successfully. They're still searching. Orochimaru led the remnants of the Kaguya clan through a breakout from the east and then circled around to the west. Their target may have already been intercepted by Orochimaru, and what? Information indicates that Zabuza Mamachi, the rogue ninja who once attempted to assassinate the Mizukage, has recently returned to the Land of Water, his purpose unknown. Orochimaru's travel route seems to overlap with Zabuza's. Orochimaru, Zabuza's ferocious fang narrowed his eyes, his expression becoming even more sinister. Neither of these two are easy to deal with. If they were to join forces, the Mizukage's demand was that they obtain the legendary treasure passed down from the time of the Sage of Six Paths, no matter the cost. Even if Orochimaru and Zabuza Mamachi teamed up, they would still have to take it down. Line up. Whizzing, the dozens of Ambu ninjas scattered across the Kaguya clan's territory instantly assembled, their movements perfectly synchronized and demonstrating excellent training. The fierce-looking man scanned his subordinates. Changu, you lead one of your squadrons to stay and defend the village. When King returns, have him scout the area again. The rest of you, come with me. Yes. The Great Tengu lowered his head, and everyone responded in unison. After the fiend led a large number of Ambu ninjas away, the Great Tengu slowly raised his head and watched their departing figures, his eyes, hidden under his mask, reflecting a faint blue light. A few moments. A hidden underground chamber. Ding ding, ding. The Great Tengu, returning from the Bamboo clan's territory, stood outside the door and, as agreed, knocked on the door twice short and once long. Enter. An old man's hoarse yet resonant voice came from inside the door. One could sense the weight of time just by listening to his tone. Removing the Great Tengu mask from his face, Takuto Sadike strode into the secret room. The room was dimly lit, with a large conference table in the center. Several candles lit the table, casting flickering light that illuminated three figures. A middle-aged man with a single eye on his left side, long gray-blue hair, and two sealing talismans hanging from his earrings. The woman beside him had a charming face, with emerald-green eyes, long, wavy reddish-brown hair, her right eye hidden by her hair, and pink lips. She wore a blue strapless dress with a white belt around her waist, and had a sexy figure. Opposite the two was an old man dressed like a monk, holding a scepter with a snake's head. Master Yuan, I have relayed the news of Zabuza's alliance with Orochimaru to Kyoya as ordered. He is currently leading a large force of the Anbu to hunt down Orochimaru. Only one company of my men remained as the village's secret police. Well done, Chuorin. Master Yuan, the fourth Hokage, really that's not what you should ask. The subordinate has overstepped his bounds. Outer pool occupant lowered his head. This person is a living fossil who has lived from the time of the first Mizukage to the present day. Although he is only an elder, he can govern everything in the village. In the hearts of some villagers, his status is even higher than that of the Mizukage. Go down. The village is currently in a weakened state. Protect the village and don't let the enemy take advantage of the situation. Yes. Yuanshi watched as Weichai Takuto put his mask back on and left the secret room, his aged face displaying an inscrutable expression. Seeing that there was no one else around, King couldn't help but ask, Master Yuan, what exactly is the person behind the control of the water shadow looking for? I don't know the specifics either. Master Yuan shook his head, his eyelids drooping as he fell into recollection. I only heard the first Mizukage mention that the Bamboo clan has a long history that can be traced back to 1,000 years ago, and there may be a legacy within the clan that is even older than the Sage of Six Paths. The Six Paths Sage. King was astonished, and her voice became slightly high-pitched. Those are figures that only exist in ancient legends, like gods. The bamboo harvesting clan has even more ancient artifacts passed down through generations. No matter what kind of treasure it is, it has nothing to do with us. Elder Yuan, when exactly should we begin our operation? Mei Terumi, who was sitting opposite them, couldn't help but interrupt their conversation. At this time, she was not as mature as in the original work. Her charming face still carried a hint of immaturity, like a ripe peach about to mature. During World War Roman III, Ao used her Byakugan to detect the strange Lightning Release Chakra in the fourth Mizukage's mind, and she reported it to her master. However, the Mizukage himself was a powerful Jinchuriki of the Three Tails, and coupled with his policies against bloodline clans, he gained support from commoner ninjas who hated bloodline ninjas. The strength of the person behind the scenes is unknown. They dared not make any rash moves. Now that Mei Terumi's two bloodlines have awakened one after another, her strength has greatly increased, and the powerful Kaguya clan's counterattack has severely weakened the Mizukage's Anbu. Just then, Orochimaru and Zabuza, for reasons unknown, infiltrated the Land of Water to cause trouble, and the Mizukage's loyal dog Hyuga with cage-level strength and a large number of his Jonin-level confidants were also tricked out of the village by them. At this moment, the fourth Mizukage's forces were completely depleted. The time has come. Faced with the opportunity they had waited 3 long years for, and seeing Yuanshi's leisurely pace as if he might fall asleep at any moment, Terumi Mei couldn't help but urge him anxiously. Let's do it, Elder Yuan. The enemy is a master of illusion who can control Jinchuriki. If we can't stay calm, we'll just become their sword. Mei Terumi, you are the strongest among us. If we can't remain calm and composed, we will surely lose this battle. The master's cloudy eyes stared at Terumi Mei as he spoke slowly. There was not a trace of blame in his tone, nor any air of superiority from someone in a high position, only earnest instruction to pass on his experience to the younger generation. Faced with Elder Yuan's earnest teachings, the slightly immature Terumi Mei nodded guiltily, and the anxiety in her heart gradually subsided. Looking at Mei Terumi, who had regained her composure, Ao sighed inwardly. He truly lives up to his reputation as Master Yuan. End of this chapter. Chapter 5 Blind Girl. Chapter 5 Blind Girl Earthquake. Run, run. The sky was overcast, with dark, gloomy clouds pressing down on the horizon. The earth shook violently like a trampoline. The world seemed to be turned upside down. Countless tall buildings collapsed one after another, roads cracked, and people scattered and fled like ants. The girl stood there blankly. The tragic scene before him was reflected in his pupils. The mother, whose body was only partially exposed under the bricks, screamed in agony, while the father, his flesh mangled and bloodied, was no longer breathing. Run! Amidst the cacophony, the crying girl was pushed and shoved by the surging crowd as she ran toward a narrow, distant light. Look back. Rumble exclamation. The earth is shaking and the mountains are shaking. The building collapsed with a crash, leaving only endless darkness before us. While bathroom. A silver-haired girl burst out of the water, splashing water everywhere. Cough cough. Pale hands gripped the edge of the bathtub, fingertips wrinkled. With the back of her hand pressed against her mouth and nose, Gray Glass, pale and coughing, struggled to climb out of the bathtub, choking on water. Here it is, a pale bathroom, filled with steam, and a reclining figure in the distance. Fog conceals. The scattered gray pupils instantly converged and emitted light. The world suddenly changed shape. The two-dimensional world transforms into a three-dimensional one, and the square houses can no longer block the view. The walls and streets seem to become transparent glass. I looked up and down to make sure there was nothing unusual in the surroundings. Relieved of the glare, Huey Lai took a deep breath and wiped the water from her face. The water stream wet my hair. which clung to my cheeks and neck, making it feel damp and itchy. I was too tired last night. She accidentally fell asleep while taking a bath. My palms covered my forehead, feeling slightly warm, and the air I exhaled from my nose was a little dry and hot. Weakness in the limbs. It seems like I still have a slight fever. I don't know if the healing ability of the corpse bone vein is effective for colds and fevers. Shouldn't be a problem. Barefoot on the cold bathroom tiles, she stood naked in front of the sink. Naoko Amasaka lay still quietly at the bottom of the sink, her chestnut eyes unfocused, her beautiful face slightly bluish from excessive blood loss. Life is so fragile. Huey stood in front of the corpse, took down the towel hanging above the sink, and rubbed it around her wet hair. Looking at the woman's bruised face at her feet, she couldn't help but recall the devastating disaster of her childhood. It was a horrific earthquake that left her orphaned, having lost her parents, relatives, and the home she depended on for survival. Her once kind neighbors had beaten her down for a bite to eat. The image of her parents' tragic deaths is a nightmare she can never escape for the rest of her life. She doesn't want to become like that. She wanted to live better than anyone else. She looked up and saw that the mirror above the sink was fogged up, only reflecting a faint outline of her face. Holding a tissue to wipe the mirror, a faint gray mark was immediately left on the clean white paper. A silver-haired girl, completely naked, appeared in the mirror. The girl had delicate, well-defined features and fair skin. Though not yet fully grown, her beauty was undeniable. Her long hair cascaded down her shoulders, covering her chest, and the silver-gray strands shimmered with a metallic sheen under the light. Its irises were milky white, but the pupils in the center were an unusually dull gray, a color that seemed to be deeper than I remembered. I brushed aside the hair on my forehead and examined it. I found that the puncture wound between my eyebrows that I had suffered yesterday had healed perfectly without even a scar. Her skin was smooth, radiant, and flawless, making her look unreal. This appearance, I think I forgot to count one card when I was counting the cards yesterday. Stepping over the dried, dark bloodstains on the ground, smoothing the goosebumps on her arms from the cold air, Huey wiped her wet body and walked out of the bathroom. Come to the living room. The floor was completely black. The rapid evaporation of water vapor made her feel cold all over. Morning light streamed through the window cracks, making the bare skin of the gray glass glow like the finest white jade. Looking out the window, the sky outside was already turning a pale white, with a faint hint of purple. I don't know how long I slept. Roll your eyes open. Huey formed a hand seal with one hand, and the veins around his eyes bulged. The view instantly became clear and transparent, revealing the three-dimensional structure of the buildings and even the entire street in perfect detail. Kirigakure itself is a mountain town. Clouds drifted over the mountain top, and houses were built against the mountain. The streets were uneven and very steep, with a large bulge in the middle of the road, like a giant basketball buried underground. The houses on both sides were single-story, some with woods and mounds behind them. Climbing up led to another street, somewhat like a magical city from a previous life. He withdrew his gaze and rolled his eyes, surveying the surroundings inch by inch from top to bottom. Huey's brows furrowed slightly. She turned back to the bathroom, opened the drain, and cleaned out the long, silver-gray hair that was tangled up at the very back. Looking at Naoko Amasaka at the bottom of the sink and her clenched fist hidden in her lower abdomen. Chakra surged base exclamation terrifying blades sprang from the deformed finger joints, protruding from the flesh. The sharp bone blade of the Mori white extends and thins, forming a shape like a scalpel, making the already exceptionally sharp edge even faster sizzle. His fists were clenched into a ball, and his fingers were stiff as wood. Huey wielded the bone blade and severed Naoko's fingers one by one, revealing the blood-red character bone on her palm. Even though marriage and children had diminished her former sharpness, she was still able to leave clues when she was on the verge of death. They truly deserve the name of the Blood Mist Ninja. Li secretly admired him and casually cut off Naoko's palm, skin, and flesh. Finding the bedroom, she changed into Amasaka Naoko's shorts and t-shirt. Her own clothes were tattered and unusable, the two women were too different in size, and the oversized t-shirt hung loosely over her chest, the hem covering her bottom. The shorts were too baggy at the waist, and Harry had to use a belt to keep them from falling down. Using his transparent vision, he scavenged a considerable amount of cash from under Hoshino's bed, on his bedside table, and in the black box at the bottom of Amasaka Naoko's wardrobe. Keep a little on your person, and stuff the rest into your shoulder bag. Hey! A lighter ignited the tattered, blood-stained clothes, and the flames licked the bamboo insignia, leaping high in an instant. He threw the tangled hair and Naoko's hand flesh into the fire pit, smelling the stench of burning protein mixed with a faint aroma of meat in the air, the firelight making his gray eyes flicker. Wait until all information that might expose you is burned to ashes. Scan the surroundings to make sure nothing is missed. The blood-stained bone fragments and ashes from the fire were put into a garbage bag. Li used her transformation magic to transform into the appearance of her former colleague. Carrying a wallet and the garbage, she walked out of the house, looking like a corporate slave rushing to work in the early morning. 3 hours later, somewhere underground in Wine Village. Captain, we found the Dark Fox. Where? Taijutsu, wearing the Odingu mask, and an Anbu ninja wearing a crowface mask are talking in a spacious basement. Hostile. Taijutsu frowned deeply. He's injured? Didn't I send him to clean up the battlefield? What happened? He died. The basement was deathly silent. Seeing that the captain had remained silent for a long time after hearing this, cold sweat broke out on Mist Raven's forehead. He had never known that the captain and Dark Fox had such a good relationship continue. The dry, deep, and hoarse voice betrayed a terrifying killing intent within it, yet Mist Raven could detect it. Last night, Nether Fox discovered a severely wounded Anbu member while cleaning up the battlefield. He carried the injured member to the hospital alone, but the details of what happened next are unknown. When Nether Fox didn't return for a long time, Bloodhound and I went to the hospital to look for him. The nurse said Hoshino was dead, and the Anbu ninja who carried him had gone to notify his family and never returned. According to the nurse's description of his appearance, the man had already died on the battlefield Hoshino was cleaning up. The cause of death was that his head had been cleaved in two by some kind of claw-shaped weapon. Therefore, we speculate that remnants of the Bamboo clan have infiltrated the village, their intentions unclear, and they are likely hiding in the Nether Fox's house. We just sent people to search it at this point. Fog Raven suddenly hesitated to continue. What happened to Naoko? His tone was calm and natural, but to Mist Raven, the captain's voice seemed even more chilling than the ice release of the Minazuki family. Naoko Amasaka is dead. There are no signs of a struggle inside the house, so she was killed instantly. All traces have been cleaned up very well, leaving no clues. The murderer is very strong and ruthless. I speculate that this person is at least a jonin. The author deliberately omitted the tragic death of Naoko Amasaka. Very clean? Yes. It was even cleaner and more efficient than our Secret Service's methods. Not even a single hair was left behind. After hearing this, there was another long silence. The fog crow stood uneasy, its head bowed and fists clenched. The Bamboo Tug clan's reckless and brutal behavior is completely different from this person's style. Orochimaru secretly appeared in the Kaguya clan's territory, and this person is very likely one of his subordinates. Kirigaya, you take your men and seal off all exits of the village. From now on, only entry is allowed, no one can leave. Everyone entering the village must be strictly checked, and any suspicious individuals kill them on the spot. Taijutsu calmly issued the order, his tone chilling. Sealing off the village? This what about the village's higher-ups? I'll handle it. Yes. Upon receiving the order, Mist Crow formed hand seals and used the water instantaneous movement technique. transforming into a stream of water and quickly departing. Inside the empty dark side base, Takuto Satachi stood motionless for a long time. Having lost his family at a young age, he now loses his best friend and lover. The hatred in my heart burned like wildfire. But he cannot let hatred cloud his judgment. Genji, Meiterumi, and others went to fight the Mizukage and the mastermind behind it all, but the outcome was uncertain. The Anbu Captain Commander Hyuga and his men were lured out of Kirigakure to hunt down Orochimaru. The seemingly powerful Mist Village is now at its weakest point in history. At this time, no unusual occurrences in the village should be taken lightly. If this person is truly Orochimaru's subordinate, and if he discovers the true strength of the village, the weak Kirigakure will have no one who can stop Orochimaru. First, keep the enemy tied up in the village. There's no need to rush the search. He awaited Master Yuan's return and then entrusted King with searching the village with his white eyes. With the terrifying white eyes and bloodstains as a guide, all the murder's disguises were nothing more than a matter of observation. He will definitely cut off the murder's head and place it in front of Gen Sora and Naoko's graves to comfort their spirits in heaven. Oh, have you heard? The Kaguya clan rebelled last night, attempting to attack the ninja village, but they were wiped out. Ah, really fake? With corpses piled up like mountains, how could it be fake? I heard that the Mizukage actually wanted the treasure passed down through the Kaguya clan. Hey, brother, watch your words. Central Avenue is shrouded in mist. Familiar passers-by gathered in twos and threes, whispering among themselves. They couldn't help but be careless. The central street is located at the very top of the mountain city, and no matter where you are in Kirigakure, it takes a long uphill climb to get there. If you look down from the sky, the crisscrossing streets look like a giant crosshair carved on the surface of a bullet, and at the very center of the crosshair stands the Mizukage building. The main subject of their discussion was at the very top of the building. Boom, boom, boom! Exclamation as the group was talking. A strange noise suddenly came from the street intersection. The man narrating the story looked alertly in the direction of the sound. A silver-haired girl holding a long wooden staff walked slowly down the gentle slope of the road. The girl carried a military green pack on her back, held a brown wooden cane, and wore a small white cloak that reached past her calves. A hood covered her head, and a black cloth blindfolded her delicate face. Her silver-gray hair curled from both sides of her face, falling to her chest and shimmering with a unique metallic sheen in the sunlight. What a beautiful blind woman! Upon realizing the source of the unusual sound, the group inwardly exclaimed in admiration, turned their heads away, and continued to quietly chatter about the crickets in the water. Women and current affairs are topics of conversation for middle-aged men. But the little girl is not. In the blood-soaked world filled with carnage, pedophilia is 100 times worse than murder and is one of the most unforgivable crimes. Thump listening to the conversations of passers-by on the street, the blind woman lowered her head, gently pursed her delicate, pale pink lips like cherry blossoms, and leaned on her cane as she slowly walked towards the towering water shadow building in the distance. End of this chapter. Chapter 6, Abnormality. Chapter 6, Abnormality. Li, leaning on her white cane, strolled leisurely into the lobby on the first floor of the water shadow building. The dark strip of cloth in front of him had no effect whatsoever on his clear white eyes. No way. Her eye rolling was too noticeable. With the cash she found at Hashino's house, she went to a clothing store and bought a set of clothes and a blindfold. After changing out of the ill-fitting clothes and covering her covetous Byakugan, she dared to walk in Kirigakure in her true form. Ding ding! The ground was changed from dirt road to ceramic tile, which makes a crisp and pleasant sound when tapped. The chakra synthesized from the heart flows into the Byakugan through the meridians. Under the blindfold, the pupils contract forcefully. The Byakugan, which is capable of seeing through everything within a kilometer, is greatly limited in the Mizukage building. Within sight, countless chakra-infused barriers and seals protected the Mizukage's building layer by layer. Chains formed from a different type of chakra strangled the building like giant serpents seizing their prey. It's impossible to see through it, especially the water shadow office at the very top, which is almost isolated from the building by sealing techniques and an unknown, strangely colored barrier. Its tight security made it look less like the office of a village shadow and more like a secret prison where death row inmates were held. Has Abaido Uchiha been discovered? Uncertain in her mind, Huey, leaning on her cane, followed the staff to the front desk in the lobby on the first floor. "Little sister, what's the matter?" The female ninja, sitting on a stool behind the stage, crossed her legs and trimmed her nails, her eyes scanning the blind woman in front of her. "I want to post a task." Putting down her work, the female ninja took out a mission sheet and a set of paper and pen for formulaic note-taking. "Escort me to the Fire Country's Tanabata Street." The pen paused on the paper. "The reason?" Huey frowned. What she really wanted to go to was Konoha Village. "I just couldn't say it directly, so I randomly picked a place name that I was familiar with from a comic book in my past life. Konoha is located in the Land of Fire, the most prosperous of the 5 great nations, with abundant land and a pleasant climate." Having watched the anime, Huey is most familiar with the situation there, and can take full advantage of her knowledge of the original plot. Although Konoha faces many crises, in Huey's view, crises are not scary. What is scary is the unknown. No matter what kind of crisis it is, as long as you know about it in advance, you can avoid it with ease. Most importantly, the Hyuga clan of Konoha is her maternal clan. Going there to obtain the protection of the Hyuga and Konoha can help her escape the pursuit of the hidden mist Anbu. Moreover, she is different from ordinary Hyuga clan members. Her mother was from the Hyuga main family. As the eldest daughter of the main branch of the Hyuga clan, she was naturally a true member of the main branch, and the Hyuga clan's most discussed encaged bird-cursed seal had no effect on her. If she successfully reaches Konoha, she can return to the Hyuga clan as the main branch's daughter. At that time, she will possess 2 of the top-tier bloodline limits and inheritances in the ninja world, and will have Konoha and the Hyuga clan as her backing, providing her with resources and protection. Before Shippuden began, she had almost no need to worry about her life being threatened. This was the best choice she made after careful consideration. As for why she needed a hidden mist ninja to escort her, the reason was simple: she didn't know the way to the Land of Fire. The ninja world is not Earth. There's no convenient high-speed rail here, no Beidou maps, and certainly no smooth roads. In this life, Huey is only 6 years old and has never even left Kirigakure. The journey from Kirigakure to Konoha spanned countless kilometers across the ocean. She didn't even know where to buy a ticket to the Land of Fire. Thoughts swirled in my mind. Seeing that Huey hadn't replied for a while, the female ninja assumed she didn't want to reveal her privacy. She paused for a moment, then patiently explained missions are classified into 5 levels from highest to lowest, S, A, B, C, and D. If the danger level of a mission cannot be determined, it can easily lead to unnecessary casualties and mission failure. Therefore, we must know the reason for the mission before dispatching ninjas to carry it out. Reasonable. Grey Glass nodded and made up something on the spot. "My dad has been missing for 2 months. Before he left home, he said he was going to Tanabata Street in the Land of Fire and would be back soon, but he hasn't returned yet. I'm very worried and want to go find him." The female ninja remained unmoved by Huey's story, diligently taking notes while talking non-stop. Due to the long distance, this mission is tentatively designated as a sea-level escort mission with a commission of 10,000 taels. Please pay half of the commission fee as a deposit first, and the remaining commission fee will be paid upon completion of the mission. If it is discovered during the mission that you have concealed anything or that the difficulty of the mission far exceeds the assessment level, the escort ninja has the right to refuse to perform the mission, and the deposit will not be refunded. The female ninja spoke at a rapid pace and with clear enunciation, like a rapid-fire monologue. Li took off the package on her back and counted out several large silver notes to pay. Okay, please leave your address. We will notify you as soon as a ninja accepts a mission. Although she was a little surprised that Li, who was blindfolded, could count out exactly 5,000 silver notes, the female ninja did not ask any questions out of curiosity. When it comes to work, it's better to avoid trouble. Having worked in this line of work, she'd seen all sorts of people. She'd met all sorts of strange individuals and heard all sorts of tragic stories. Her compassion and curiosity had long been exhausted by the endless stream of missions and assignments. Misty Inn, room 304. Within one business day, a ninja will notify you to stay in the hotel and not wander around. After the female ninja wrote down the hotel address, Grey Glass walked out of the Mizukage building with her cane. It was already past dawn. The mist on the mountaintop slowly dissipated, and the unobstructed sunlight was dazzling. Li blinked hard to relieve the double vision caused by the strong light. Her white eye had a 360-degree field of vision, so she couldn't help but look at the sun even if she wanted to. Walking down the central street with my head down, I saw pedestrians still discussing the extermination of the Bamboo Clan, but their discussions were no longer about the Bamboo Clan. In Kirigakure, countless bloodline ninja clans have perished, and people have long since become numb to it. If it weren't for the conspiracy theory that the Water Shadow was plotting to steal the treasure, this topic wouldn't even need to be discussed. Li noticed something was wrong with her body. An unbearable tingling and itching seemed to be coming from her flesh and blood. After walking only a few steps, my body began to tremble uncontrollably. What's going on? Suppressing the strange sensations emanating from her body, Li quickened her pace and hurried away. Dong dong dong. Pedestrians on the roadside heard the familiar knocking sound and hurriedly turned around in confusion, just in time to see the blind woman who had been cautiously moving forward. Now, she was symbolically tapping the ground with her cane. Her steps were brisk as if she were running. He immediately wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. Subsequently, the conversation shifted from current affairs to urban legends. I hurried back to the hotel. After locking the door, Li removed the blindfold and sat cross-legged on the bed, looking inward at herself. The blood vessels on both sides of the whites of the eyes are bulging. Then, the chakra seed emanating a radiant light within his heart trembled slightly, and chakra, like flowing water, surged into his eyes through his meridians, transforming into eye power. The pale gray pupil in the center of the white of the eye contracts and focuses, turning into a deep, lifeless gray. Li manipulated more chakra to surge into her eyes until the surging eye power made them sting. It felt as if we had broken through some barrier, or cleared some level. She could clearly see herself sitting cross-legged on the bed, instantly becoming transparent, with blue chakra flowing continuously through her meridians. The chakra gathered in his eyes, making them unusually bright. Beneath her fair, jade-like skin, crimson flesh and stark white bones were no longer concealed in the slightest. The beautiful girl had been transformed into a pink skeleton, with every trembling muscle texture, writhing fascia and connective tissue, and even the bodily energy flowing from the jubilant cells clearly visible under the gaze of the white-eyed man. This is swallowing and spitting blood. The slowly writhing internal organs moved wildly within Li's body under her shocked gaze. The muscle cells gathered into strands of flesh that twisted like steel bars, contracting and closing, and the flesh and fat throughout the body swam freely like fish. The bones stood erect and stretched, producing a teeth-grinding creaking sound. It was as if their flesh and blood had gained their own consciousness. The tireless corporate slaves were no longer content with doing their jobs and began to dance freely. How could this pulsating connective tissue stretched and coalesced, making Grey Glass's heart pound with fear, lest she accidentally rupture a blood vessel and cause massive bleeding. However, her worries were clearly unnecessary. The blood vessels that spread throughout the body twist and turn, moving flexibly with the body's expansion and contraction, much like a horsehair worm. Suppress your panic. Li calmed down and observed carefully. With his keen eyesight, he gradually discovered that the activation of his flesh and blood had its own unique operating rules. The changes in his flesh and blood followed a specific order, starting with the head and face, then the neck, chest, and abdomen, and now the waist and legs. The activated areas are from top to bottom, from head to toe. The source should be roll your eyes. End of this chapter. Chapter 7, The Strange Corpse. Chapter 7, The Strange Corpse. The dazzling azure blue converged in his pupils, turning into silver gray, cascading down like mercury and engulfing his body. Then, the scarlet flesh, like flower stamens meeting the sunlight, danced and leaped, rising and falling, swelling and contracting in clusters and bunches. The mercury quickly circulated throughout his body, returning to his pupils like a swallow returning to its nest. Without the enhancement of his pupil power, his revitalized flesh and blood slowly subsided again. These living flesh and blood did not die, they were simply sleeping quietly, conserving their strength, waiting for their master's summons. Li had a sudden thought. A slender, pale index finger's skin automatically split open, revealing a section of stark white finger bone that wriggled out from the red flesh and fell into the palm. Controlling the small opening on the index finger's skin to close, tiny granulation tissue grew beneath the skin, so fine it was difficult to detect even with the whites of the eyes. Intertwining, mending, filling, gluing. The empty, somewhat limp knuckles were filled with newly grown bones, and eventually the flesh and bone became one. Li clenched her fist. There was no further abnormality in his hands, and he consumed very little chakra. Pinch your finger bones with 2 fingers. The surface of the bones shimmers with a matte, metallic sheen. Even kunai cannot pierce the bones of those who have awakened the corpse bone pulse. Theoretically speaking, gray glass, who only knows the 3 body techniques, would have no way to deal with this material that is 3 times harder than steel, but Li's eyes narrowed. Under the precise observation of the white eye, almost all of the body's approximately 120 billion muscle fibers contract simultaneously, and unparalleled explosive power instantly converges from all the muscles in the body to the fingertips. The bones in his hands creaked and groaned under the immense pressure of the terrifying force. Click! The finger bone shattered instantly, exploding into bone powder and dust. Looking at the bone fragments scattered on the ground, Li was overjoyed. She had actually crushed the steel bullet-like finger bones into fragments with just 2 fingers. This is pure physical strength. If chakra amplification is used, the body's muscles will be strengthened to an even more terrifying degree. How powerful will that be? A medical study in my past life indicated that the human body has over 600 muscles, which, if exerted simultaneously, could generate a force of approximately 25 tons. Of course, this only exists in theory. Human muscles cannot exert force in one direction simultaneously, and human bones and blood vessels could not withstand such a massive force. At this moment, it seems that what can only be achieved in theory has been realized by gray glass. Or rather, it has achieved part of the goal. During use, the alien bones can pierce tendons and skin, causing injury to the user. The original work explains this by stating that those who awaken the corpse bone pulse possess powerful self-healing abilities, allowing them to recover quickly from injuries. But this doesn't explain why someone can still move freely even after the bone has pierced the tendon. Anyone with even a little bit of basic biology knowledge knows this. The human body is a complex and unified system. Although bones, tendons, blood vessels, fascia, and other tissues are located in different anatomical positions, that is in relation to a dead person. In a normal, healthy living person, each of their organs exists in an isolated manner. The 9 major systems of the human body. The musculoskeletal system, composed of bones, joints, and skeletal muscles, accounts for 60% of the body's weight. One small change can affect the whole situation. Not to mention the bones, which are of paramount importance to humans. It's impossible for bones to deform at will while other parts remain the same as those of an ordinary person. In her previous life, Li only watched anime for entertainment and didn't delve into it. Now, fantasy has become reality. The seemingly mysterious and unbelievable corpse bone vein possesses a terrifying power that lies not in its indestructible bones, but in its freely manipulated, living flesh. Muscles and skin can grow and crack as bones deform. The internal organs can move freely within the abdominal cavity to prevent being pierced by their own alien skeleton. Fascia and blood vessels can also detach from the bones at any time. Only this corpse-like body could bear this steel-like skeleton that could deform at any moment. The so-called corpse bone lineage should have corpse preceding bone. But something is still wrong. Li searched through the memories in her mind. Neither Kimimaro nor his observations from his many years of living with the Kaguya clan had ever discovered that Shikotsumyaku Chinese letter had such a powerful ability to control one's own flesh and blood. According to the secret technique of extracting corpse bones from bamboo, at most, one can manipulate large muscle groups in a person's body to unleash superhuman strength and actively stimulate the secretion of adrenaline. Unlike Li, one cannot manipulate so many muscles, let alone control them with such fine detail and gather all the power in one place. I am very different from other members of the bamboo troupe. Li immediately thought of the eye roll. The changes in her body were caused by the awakening of the corpse bone pulse yesterday, coupled with her frequent use of the white eye while pretending to be blind today, ultimately resulting in her body being corrupted by the power of the pupil. Do not! It's not an infection. In an instant, Li realized the root of the problem. If it's due to pupil power intrusion, the activated flesh should return to its original state when the Byakugan withdraws its power. It is impossible for it to remain in an active state indefinitely. This is less of an infection and more of an activation. The bamboo clan originally possessed the ability to manipulate the body, but this ability was passive and could not be actively controlled. It's like a car without a steering wheel. The driver can't actively control it. Her eye roll conveniently completed the car's operating system, allowing the car's hardware to be displayed. The terrifying anomaly that just occurred on the street was probably the operating system using its pupil power to connect with the hardware and fully activate its long-dormant functions. Gray Glass makes a bold assumption. Her conjecture was not without basis. In the original work, the final boss, Kaguya Otsutsuki, the progenitor of chakra in the ninja world, has 4 abilities: Sage Body, Sage Eyes, Byakugan, and all-killing Ash Bones. The Sage Body corresponds to the Senju and Uzumaki clans, the Sage Eyes to the Uchiha clan, the Byakugan to the Hyuga clan, and the Ash Bones of All Killing corresponds to the Taketori clan. Byakugan and Shikotsumyaku are abilities that were originally separated from a complete individual. Now, 1,000 years later, the two have finally awakened and integrated in Li's body. Breathe a long sigh of relief. Sweat soaked through his clothes, making them stick to his body. She had initially thought she had some incurable bloodline disease, but now it seems to be a good thing. Her body pores opened automatically, and sky blue chakra seeped out from her meridians and acupoints. The ethereal chakra mist transformed into blue ribbons that swirled around Li, making the frail girl sitting cross-legged on the bed appear like an immortal. If her guess is correct, the corpse bone vein and the white eye are originally one. The Byakugan fully activated the corpse bone vein, and the power of the corpse bone vein should also provide some feedback to the Byakugan. Chakra swirled around the gray glass body, forming a blue spiral much like a water spout in the ocean, both coalescing and dispersing. A gentle breeze stirred up the room, causing the curtains to flutter in the wind. Sunlight streamed in through the window, illuminating the dimly lit room. The curtains on the bright white wall cast chaotic reflections, and the seated figure was magnified countless times, resembling a solemn Buddha statue in a temple. The top of the Buddha statue's head, the halo behind the Buddha's head, which should have symbolized his majesty, was gone. Instead, countless fine threads transformed into serpents, stretching wildly and twisting and dancing in the light. Li squinted her eyes and smiled. Her long, silver-gray hair, shimmering with chakra light, swirled behind her head, the strands resembling a spider web among bushes, sealing off the space around her. Ah, so this is what is called rabbit hair needle. End of this chapter. Chapter 8, Blockade. Chapter 8, Blockade, the gate to Wyan village. Horses and carts carrying goods formed a long procession, and crowds gathered at the entrance, making a ruckus. The well-dressed businessman leading the group was arguing incessantly with several Anbu ninjas who were blocking the way at the door. Why can't we leave the village? We're just here to do business, not to be from your hidden mist village. Yes. How can a village be sealed off just like that? People had various opinions and accents. Most of the people speaking were merchants from the land of lightning and the land of fire who came to Kirigakure to do business. Kirigakure is located in the land of water, an island nation at sea. Apart from the fish, most other supplies have to be imported from abroad. The land of water is bordered by the land of fire and the land of lightning, so most of the merchants who frequently travel to Kirigakure come from these two countries. Everyone, please calm down. The Anbu member wearing a crow's mask raised his hand, trying to calm the angry crowd. You must give us an explanation. Seeing that the hidden mist operatives were showing weakness, the leader raised his voice even louder. The people in line behind them stepped forward to offer their support, and the crowd became agitated. Some of the more emotional individuals even tried to push and shove the ninjas who were trying to stop them. Seeing this, the tall, imposing operative wearing a dog face mask stepped forward, his massive body shoving through the surging crowd. He grabbed the ringleader by the neck with one hand and lifted him into the air. At the same time, a terrifying killing intent emanated. A crimson mist filled the space. Although it was an intangible mist, it exuded a foul stench and a sticky, damp feel when it lingered around the shadowy figures. It seemed as if it might fall from the air at any moment. The crimson color filled the sky, and the already not-so-intense sunlight dimmed even further. The scene before me was horrifying. The excited crowd was so frightened that they all retreated, and many of the more timid people even urinated. The strange stench caused the crowd to involuntarily move away. Boom! Exclamation! The leader slammed to the ground and bounced up, letting out cries of pain. Bloodhound stepped forward, looking down at the crowd who were trembling like quails, and said condescendingly, Kirigakure is temporarily under martial law. Entry is permitted, but exit is not. Violators will be executed on the spot. The sound was a deep, rumbling boom, like the muffled roar of a ship's engine. The crowd, which had been boiling with excitement, fell silent as they stared at the murderous-looking members of the Hidden Mist Division. Hey, let's talk this out, everyone. Don't get agitated. Mist Raven slowly released the handprint hidden in his sleeve, smiling as he reassured the crowd. Bloodhound retreated in coordination, and the tense atmosphere seemed to ease for a moment. However, no one dared to mention the word village again. Behind the crowd, the silver-haired blind woman, draped in a white cloak and wearing a hood, silently left, leaning on her cane. Beneath the large blindfold, a faint deathly gray hue shone from the center of the strange white eyes, completely dispelling the blood-red hue in the air. Immune to illusion. One of the special abilities of the Byakugan. The essence of all ninjutsu is chakra. The Byakugan can see through invisible chakra with the naked eye, so genjutsu is naturally difficult to confuse users of the Byakugan. Of course, illusion immunity also has its limits. Even the Byakugan can hardly withstand overpowered illusions like Kadomatsu Kami and Tsukayomi. Walking against the flow of people. The white cane thumped against the ground, and people who heard the sound stepped aside to make way for him. Today is the second day that Li is pretending to be blind, and also the third day that she has traveled to Wyan. Yesterday, she spent the entire day at the inn waiting for notification from Wyan about the mission, while also experimenting with her newly acquired abilities. Just as she thought, the corpse bone pulse and the Byakugan did indeed belong to the same system. The abilities of the corpse bone vein are divided into two parts, corpse and bone. The abilities of bone are well known. The ability of corpse is to give living bodies a certain death characteristic in order to support the operation of bone. Again, the flesh, bones, and skin of the human body do not exist in isolation. Variations in any part of the body can cause a chain reaction in related parts, eventually leading to the collapse of the entire system. Now, under the influence of the corpse bone vein, Grey Glass's original monolithic system seems to have split into multiple independent subsystems. Skin, flesh, bones, blood, and organs can all be disassembled at will. Each system operates independently, each with its own function, and there is a flexible system of integration and separation. Any abnormality in one part will not affect the normal operation of other systems. Therefore, Grey Glass can freely manipulate the body and bones without having to worry about other unknown effects. The Byakugan itself is part of the physical body, and the death state of the Shikotsumyaku corpse bone pulse also affects the Byakugan. Previously, activating the Byakugan required hand seals, but now it only requires a thought to automatically activate it. At the same time, the white eye's vision becomes more free. She can even make the white eye's X-ray vision only penetrate the blindfold and not other objects. In this situation, the chakra consumed by maintaining her Byakugan is negligible, and it wouldn't be a burden even if she did it all day. The Byakugan, which originally could only enhance chakra manipulation, can now also finely manipulate flesh, bones, and even hair. She can concentrate all the strength of her muscles into a single point with the slightest thought, and even a light flick of her finger can unleash an explosive force like a full-force punch. However, tests have shown that explosive muscle power also has many drawbacks. For example, it is impossible to gather all strength multiple times in a short period of time, which consumes a lot of physical strength, and blood vessels and bones are under pressure every time strength is gathered. Each time you unleash your full power, you have to wait for a cooldown period of 3 to 6 seconds. However, there are many areas where this ability can be developed. Muscle strength is just one aspect of it. Hair, body hair, skin, hormones, nerve signals, heartbeat, and even the synthesis of chakra are all more fluid. How to say? Li's body seemed to have turned into clay, which could be molded however one pleased. She even felt that the Byakugan originally had the power to control the body, but the accompanying Shikotsumyaku was removed by Takatori, so ordinary people's fragile bodies simply couldn't control it at will. That's why the Hyuga clan took the path of specializing in chakra manipulation. Li calls the new ability that appeared in the Byakugan body domination. This ability has great potential and can be developed to achieve a wide range of effects. It took Li a whole day to familiarize herself with the operation rules of body control. During this time, she did not receive any news of Kirigakure ninjas accepting missions. She only found out this morning when she went to the Water Shadow building to ask. Kirigakure has been under a curfew since yesterday, prohibiting entry and exit. Her mission has to be temporarily put on hold until the curfew is lifted before she can be assigned ninjas. It's not like a few secret agents died. Surely it's not worth such a huge fuss! Li was filled with doubt. Kirigakure is one of the 5 great ninja villages in the ninja world. The number of people coming and going every day is considerable. The blockade of the village prevents outside merchants from entering and inside ninjas from carrying out missions, completely cutting off their source of income. The fact that the village was sealed off under such immense pressure could not possibly be as simple as the deaths of a few members of the Secret Service. Is it just to roll your eyes? Not right either. Li shook her head, rejecting the guess. The preciousness of the Byakugan is known to all. The secret of her possessing the Byakugan was known only to her parents, the head of the Kaguya clan, and a few elders, all of whom died on the battlefield last night. There's no way Kirigakure could have known that she possessed the Byakugan. There must be a deeper reason behind this. A strong sense of crisis welled up in Li's heart. She didn't know where this crisis came from, but the unusual behavior of Kirigakure set off alarm bells in her heart. The joy of her further awakening of her abilities gradually faded, and the fear and tension of her life being ruthlessly taken away at any moment once again took hold of her heart. We must find a way to escape as soon as possible! Fast! Must be quick. End of this chapter. Chapter 9 Li Shengzhen. Chapter 9 Li Shengzhen. The twilight is shrouded in mist. Mary, holding a dark blue umbrella upside down, looks up at the sky. The light was dim and indistinct. Water vapor rose and turned into rolling black clouds, pressing down heavily on the horizon. The air was so humid it seemed to solidify, yet not a single raindrop fell. Only the rumbling thunder rolled incessantly in the clouds, as if gathering its strength, waiting for the opportune moment to unleash a torrential downpour with a deafening clap of thunder. I don't know when this rain will start. Mary was filled with worry 3 days ago. The sudden order from the Anbu to seal off the village caused an uproar among the village ninjas. As one of the 5 great hidden villages in the ninja world, Kirigakure's influence extends over a wide area. Almost all missions in the Land of Water and surrounding small and island nations are carried out by the Hidden Mist Ninja. Every day the Hidden Mist Village is sealed off. The lost mission rewards amount to nearly 1 million. How is this possible? The village Jonin immediately investigated the source of the blockade order, only to discover that such a crucial decision came from a secret service captain codenamed Great Tengu. The reason given by the Dark Division for the lockdown was very simple. Spies from other villages had infiltrated the village, and the village was sealed off to prevent the secrets of the Hidden Mist Village from being leaked. This ridiculous reason is simply treating people like monkeys. I've never heard of someone cutting off their own economic lifeline just because a spy infiltrated the village. I think you're the village spy. The enraged Jonin decided to unite and report the matter to the Mizukage, who then lifted the ban, but Mizukage has disappeared. Not only the Mizukage, but also the elder Yuanshi, who controls all affairs of the village, the representative of the common people in the village, the Anbu captain codenamed Kyouba Kiryu Shun, the representative of the bloodline clan ninja faction Terumi and Ao, known as the illusion killer and skilled in sealing techniques, and other important figures in the village have all disappeared. Gradually realizing the seriousness of the problem, the Jonin calmed down and began to inquire with the Anbu about the whereabouts of the Mizukage and the others. Rumors have leaked from the Secret Service that the Mizukage and his men are in the village, their whereabouts a closely guarded secret. To protect the village and await the Mizukage's return, the village is temporarily placed under wartime lockdown. There was no further objection to the decision by the Secret Service to seal off the village. The elite Jonin had no objections, and the lower-ranking ninjas naturally dared not object either. The absurd sealing of the village was actually carried out under the orders of a mere Anbu squad leader. The order was executed as usual. However, the few words spoken by the secret agents could not dispel the doubts in everyone's hearts. As a result, Mary, the younger sister of Kiryu Shun, the captain of the Anbu, came to the Anbu to inquire about the specific situation. In front of the tightly closed gate of the Misty Hidden Gate, Miss Curio. When the Anbu members who were blocking the village's exit saw Mary arrive, they all greeted her. Even Mist Raven and Bloodhound lowered their heads, no longer displaying the arrogance they had shown towards the civilians. Everyone in the entire Dark Division knows how much the Captain Commander cherishes his only younger sister. They treated it with such care, as if they were afraid it would fall if held in their hands or melt if kept in their mouths. Internally, many ninjas even referred to Mary as the young lady of the Anbu in order to curry favor with the Captain Commander. Mary nodded. "Where's my brother?" Faced with Mary's question, the members of the Dark Guard exchanged bewildered glances. The rules of the Dark Division were strict, and no one dared to offend the captain's sister, so for a moment no one dared to answer. Who's in charge here? Curio Mary calmly scanned the area. The members of the Anbu exchanged glances, and their eyes finally settled on one of them who was wearing a raven face mask. The Anbu member with the crow's face looked left and right, then shrugged helplessly and stepped forward. Hello, MS. Kuryu, I am Captain Odingu's subordinate, codename Mist Crow. Kuryu Mary's azure eyes sized up the so-called Mist Raven's Anbu member, her expression grim. I don't care who you are, answer my question. Where is my brother? The captain, he's left the village, Mist Raven answered truthfully after a second's hesitation. Reason? I don't know either. Then have your captain come over. I'm sorry, MS. Curio. Due to the busy nature of the Anbu headquarters, the captain is unable to meet with you. Kuryu Mary looked at the seemingly earnest, head bowed, her beautiful face ashen. She didn't recognize any of these secret agents. Having grown up playing in the Secret Service base, she knew her brother's subordinates, if not intimately, but at least by name. She had never even seen the ninjas who were now sealing the gate before, let alone recognized them. This shows that these people were not the brother's subordinates at all. The water lily has disappeared, her brother has disappeared, and even her brother's loyal subordinates seem to have disappeared as well. Kuryu Mary's mood worsened. An ominous premonition loomed over me. Is your captain too busy to get away? Yes. Kuryu Mary stared intently at the narrow eyes beneath the Mist Raven mask, her sharp gaze seemingly piercing through it. If I were to leave the village now, would he appear? The village is currently under lockdown. You dare to stop me? Curio Mary's tone suddenly rose, and she questioned him, enunciating each word clearly. Mist Raven slowly raised her head and met Kuryu Mary's gaze, while the numerous Anbu behind her tensed up. Bloodhound's breathing was slightly heavy, his chest heaving, and his short, blood-red hair stood on end like steel needles. The atmosphere suddenly became tense moment. He reached out and pinned down the restless bloodhound behind him. The raven face mask covered his features, making it impossible to see his expression. Miss Kuryu is the captain commander's younger sister. We sealed off the village only to capture spies, and it has nothing to do with you. If you wish to leave the village, we can open the gate at any time. If you wish to see the captain, you need his permission. I am merely an ordinary member of the Dark Guard and cannot make such a decision. As for the whereabouts of the Mizukage and your brother, I know absolutely nothing about them. The fog crow slowly shook its head, staring at the stubborn Mist Crow in front of her. Kuryu Mary felt a sudden toothache. The attitude was impeccable. They knew nothing about the news. The task is issued by the team leader. Leaving the village will not be hindered. The captain could not make a decision. She's a complete tough nut to crack, a seasoned veteran in the workplace. Mary Kuryu couldn't really storm into the dark side base to confront Odingu. If Odingu was focused on hiding, she wouldn't be able to find him anyway. Dealing with this kind of person is like a dog trying to bite a hedgehog. It's impossible to know where to begin. Seeing that she couldn't get any answers from him, Kuryu Mary gave up on using her brother's authority to act tough any longer. Under the watchful eyes of the other Anbu members, she snorted coldly and turned to leave. We had just left the gate of the ninja village. Tick-tock. Raindrops fell from the sky, leaving wet marks on the ground. It's raining, someone was shouting, and pedestrians on the roadside covered their heads and scattered. Kuryu Mary calmly opened her umbrella, about to continue walking, when a soft, timid voice came from her side. Hello, has the ban been lifted? Her voice was soft and melodious, causing Kuryu Mary to involuntarily stop and tilt her head to look at her. Pedestrians scattered to avoid the rain, and the street corner was somewhat chaotic, except for one person who sat quietly on the side of the street. The girl sat timidly under the eaves, holding onto her white cane with both hands. A wide black cloth covered her eyes, and her high nose bridge and delicate features made her look like a large porcelain doll. Her long, gray-silver hair cascaded down her shoulders, and her skin was fair and translucent. A white cloak, stained with dust, covered her small body, making the girl look petite and adorable like a kitten. What a beautiful blind woman. Mary was momentarily stunned by his beauty and began to scrutinize him closely before realizing that he was speaking to her. A little sister, are you talking to me? As if afraid of disturbing the cat-like girl in front of her, Mary's voice involuntarily rose as well. End of this chapter. Chapter 10 Crisis. Chapter 10 Crisis. A little sister, are you talking to me? A light rain was falling. Mary, holding an umbrella, smiled at the girl huddled under the eaves and leaned down to ask her a question. His tone and attitude were much more amiable than when he was dealing with the Dark Division. If the Anbu who were just guarding the gates of Kirigakure were to see this, they would probably collectively complain in their hearts about this heartless, face-obsessed person and this world that judges people by their looks. Hello, big sister, my name is Li. I heard that the village is cracking down on spies and has imposed a ban on leaving the village. I can't see and I don't know if the ban has been lifted yet. When talking about her eyes, the girl's clear voice became somewhat low, as if she was ashamed of her disability. Mary glanced at the girl's delicate face, which was covered by a blindfold, with pity, and her attitude became even gentler and kinder. The ban hasn't been lifted yet. It might take a few more days, I understand. Thank you, sister. After politely thanking her, the girl silently lowered her head. Tick-tock. Rainfall is gradually increasing. Raindrops from the eaves accumulated into streams of water, falling on the girl's head and body, wetting her long, silver-gray hair into strands. The girl shrank further under the eaves to avoid the rain on her head. Little Li, aren't you going home because it's raining? Seeing the pitiful girl, Mary couldn't help but ask. My home is outside the village. The girl's voice grew even lower as she spoke. Mary silently watched the lonely blind girl huddled under the eaves. The girl, whose home is outside the village, is now homeless due to the ban imposed by the Hidden Mist village. Having understood why the girl was hiding here waiting for the ban to be lifted, Mary felt a heavy weight in her heart. Memories of the past kept flashing before her eyes, vividly recalling the murder of her family when she was a child. If it weren't for her brother's protection, she might have ended up alone and helpless like him. Now that her brother, with whom she has depended on since childhood, has disappeared, she herself is also homeless. For a moment, Mary's feelings seemed to resonate completely with Harry's. Little gray glass, don't be afraid. Where is your home? Shall I take you home? Really? The girl looked up, a delighted smile spreading across her face. Looking at the girl's cute smiling face, Mary seemed to be infected and couldn't help but smile as well. But the village's prohibition, the girl showed signs of worry. It's all right, my sister is a jonin from Kirigakure. The ban has no effect on me. Perhaps in order to maintain her shining image in Harry's heart, vanity drove Mary not to reveal her identity as a member of the dark side. Jonin. Father said that jonin are the most powerful ninjas. Big sister, you're amazing. The girl exclaimed in surprise. Mary couldn't help but smile. Growing up under her brother's wing, Mary heard mostly about her brother, and people would only say that she was Shun's sister. The girl's surprised praise completely hit Mary's sweet spot, and her bad mood due to her brother's mysterious disappearance improved somewhat. It's not that powerful. So, Li, where do you live? I'll take you back now. Thank you, big sister. My home is in Tanabata Street in the Land of Fire. The girl said this in a seemingly innocent manner. Through the blindfold, watching Mary's smile gradually fade, Harry's smile became even more innocent and carefree. Street corner. The rain became increasingly torrential. The fine raindrops almost formed a continuous curtain, completely engulfing the fog. The wide street directly opposite the gate of the Hidden Mist. Two figures, one tall and one short, huddled under the eaves, looking at each other. You mean you come from Tanabata Street in the Land of Fire, and came to Kirigakure with your father to do business? but your father has been missing for a long time and you want to issue a mission to escort you back to Tanabata Street to find your family." Huey nodded, adding many more details to her backstory. "Then why don't you just ask the hidden mist ninjas to help you find your missing father?" Mary keenly noticed the flaw in Harry's words. "My father didn't leave me much cash. If Kirigakure can't find my father in a short time, I will starve to death in the village." Logically, it seems to make no mistake. Mary rested her chin on her hand, lost in thought. Huey silently activated her white eyes, scrutinizing the pretty woman with brown hair and blue eyes in front of her through the blindfold. He concealed 7 kunai and a sealing scroll on his side and thigh, 1,230 taels of silver in the lining of his clothes, 5 explosive tags on his lower back, and 20 senbon needles and 4 shuriken in his ninja tool bag for later use. The chakra in his meridians is roughly at the Jonin level, his muscle and bone strength is average, and there is an unidentified purple powder hidden under the fingernail of his right index finger. Non-taijutsu type ninjas can escape from a distance, but can be instantly killed by close-range sneak attacks. He silently weighed the combat strength in his mind. She had been lying in wait on this street for 3 days. The fog-shrouded blockade has a huge impact. Every day, countless merchants and villagers come to the door to inquire about the reopening time. As ordinary people, they simply lack the ability to break through the Dark Guard's blockade. But just because ordinary people can't do it doesn't mean ninjas can't. Huey firmly believes that as long as a utopian society where everyone is equal has not been realized, all rules set by human society will inevitably be broken by humankind itself. This is an ironclad rule that applies to every world. Now, she has indeed found someone capable of breaking the rules, although it is unclear what this woman's name is. However, the fact that many secret agents bowed and greeted him at the door confirmed that the other party's identity was indeed extraordinary. She hoped that the other party would help her leave the hidden mist out of pity for her loneliness and helplessness. Otherwise, she would have no choice but to transform into the other party's appearance and try her luck. In order to play the role more convincingly, she would have to ask the person in person for certain information, of course. Since Huey is not skilled in illusion magic, she can only ask questions physically. I gaze at Mary, who is quietly deep in thought. Beneath the blindfold, a faint deathly gray shone in the center of the pupils of her milky white eyes, and her hands, covered by wide sleeves, turned a ghastly white as her fingertips twitched. "Little gray glass, can I see your hands?" The bone spur on her fingertip snapped back, and her little hand clenched into a fist in tension. Harry looked at Mary, who had made the request, with surprise and uncertainty. How does she know? Have I been exposed? One idea after another popped into my head, but I still couldn't find my weakness. Suppressing her nervousness, she obediently extended her left hand. Mary grasped it firmly. It feels warm, soft, and smooth to the touch as if it has no bones. The skin on the back of her hands was as white as jade, and her fingers were long and slender. Mary stroked her small, work-like hand with her fingers, examining it carefully. It's not a transformation technique. Calluses and scars from not practicing martial arts or throwing techniques. But Mary still felt that something was not quite right. The Mizukage has disappeared, the master has disappeared, his brother has disappeared, and even all of his brother's subordinates in the Anbu have vanished. The various unusual events in Kirigakure have put Mary on high alert. The timing of this girl's appearance was too perfect. It just so happens that today, she went to the Dark Guard to inquire about her brother's whereabouts, and coincidentally, after inquiring, she met a pitiful blind girl trapped in a village by the Forbidden Village Order. And coincidentally, she herself has the ability to break through the Dark Guard's blockade. Although there is no major problem in terms of logic, but there are just too many suspicious points. Furthermore, none of the girl's statements can be verified or disproven, which is typical of a lie. My brother is a powerful figure in the entire ninja world. There aren't many people who could make him disappear so easily. Could it be that my brother and the others were also tricked into leaving the village like this? Why would the person behind this lie to me? Are they afraid I'll leave the village and find my brother? So they're trying to find something to delay my Mary's wild guess. Little Gray, you just said I'm a Jonin, right? Yes, my sister is amazing. With his left hand being held, Li had no idea what the woman in front of him was thinking, so he could only deal with her casually. Then you probably don't know what type of ninja I am, right? Mary grasped Harry's wrist. Her delicate wrist seemed as if she could break it at any moment. Her azure eyes locked onto the petite girl before her, a terrifying killing intent enveloping the space. Sister, I'm a sensory ninja. The chakra fluctuations emanating from you are too dazzling. End of this chapter. Chapter 11 contains a transparent background. Chapter 11 contains a transparent background fart. This woman is a serial liar. As Li settled her mind on Mary, the tension in her heart gradually subsided. I've been in this world for almost a week. She gradually discovered the huge differences between the real Naruto world and the original manga, or rather, the hidden settings behind the manga story. Chakra is not stored in the danshin as many people imagine, nor is it available for use in battle. In this world, a ninja's chakra originates from the chakra seed within each person's heart. Some people also call it the chakra core. Beneath the clear world of the Byakugan, the chakra seed emitting a faint glow in Mary's heart trembled with her heartbeat. The spiritual energy in her brain gathered at her brow, and the physical energy in her cells gathered at her lower abdomen. Finally, the two moved towards each other and infused the chakra seed. Gyudong! The chakra seed beats like a heart, from which strands of chakra are pumped out, flowing along countless meridians to the limbs and bones, and then back to the heart, in an endless cycle. This is the norm for ninjas. The reason why ninjas are so powerful is that they have an energy circulation system that ordinary people don't have. Chakra is integrated with spiritual energy and physical energy within the body. If any one of them is depleted, it will be replenished by the other two. The three constantly transform and together constitute a dynamic balance of energy. Therefore, using ninjutsu consumes chakra, which speeds up the chakra circulation within the body. Physical and mental energy then rapidly flows into the heart to generate new chakra to maintain energy balance. Why is it said that a ninja will die if he runs out of chakra? The reason is simple. When chakra is completely depleted, it means that a person's mental and physical energy is also exhausted. Without any energy, a person will definitely die. Conversely, as long as there is a trace of chakra remaining in the body, it means that the person's physical and mental energy has not been exhausted and there is still hope for the person. Of course, there are also special cases where the battle is too intense, causing chakra to be depleted instantly, and the body's energy and mental energy cannot be converted in time. At this point, the ninja will use the chakra extraction technique to turn the tables and quickly convert physical and mental energy into chakra. From the moment she met Mary, Harry had been observing her with her Byakugan. Mary's energy circulation system showed no fluctuations. In other words, if Mary had truly sensed high-rise chakra fluctuations, she would have had to master a sensory ninjutsu that required no chakra at all. How to say? Even the Byakugan from Kaguya Otsutsuki needs chakra to function properly. How could you, a Jonin from Kirigakure, have a more powerful sensory ninjutsu than the Byakugan? If he had, King wouldn't have gone to such lengths to earn disdain. His mother wouldn't have ended up in Wyan, and Li wouldn't have been born. In conclusion, while it's possible for sensory ninjutsu to exist in this world that doesn't consume any chakra, it's highly unlikely that Mary possesses sensory ninjutsu of that level. A sensory ninja? What is chakra? What are you talking about, big sister? Seeing Mary's feigned murderous aura, Harry pretended not to know and asked questions while keeping her heartbeat steady and her muscles relaxed. Mary held High-Rise wrist, carefully sensing her pulse. You weren't lying. The pulse rate at Li's wrist was completely normal. This not only means that Li was not lying, but also proves that she is truly blind. If a person with normal vision saw themselves looking so menacing, whether they were lying or not, they would feel panicked and nervous. This is a basic human survival instinct. Li's pulse is completely normal now, which can only mean that she is not lying, but is actually blind. Chakra is a special power that only ninjas possess. To bypass the ambu's blockade, there must be professional sensory ninjas detecting the presence of chakra within the body. Okay, let's go get tested now. Li nodded blankly, completely unafraid of the so-called chakra detection by Li Shengzhen, and even urged her on. She really didn't seem afraid. Mary looked at High-Rise calm face with suspicion, her eyes covered so that it was impossible to read her emotions through her eyes. Damn it, the two people I met today were either masked or blindfolded. I couldn't tell anything from them. Despite repeated probing, Mary couldn't find any flaws in Harry. His youthful face showed only composure. Is it really just a coincidence? Am I being too sensitive? How many days has little gray glass been waiting here? I've been waiting since the lockdown started. It's been about 3 days now. Mary nodded. Her decision to come here was impromptu. They didn't hide their tracks along the way, so it's possible that the encounter was deliberately arranged by someone. They could have come when she left home, or they could have come while she was talking to the Secret Service. It's absolutely impossible that they came here to ambush her 3 days in advance. Most importantly, Gray Glass's statement can be verified or disproven. A blind woman with such distinctive physical features, who stayed by the roadside for 3 days, couldn't possibly have gone unnoticed. Whether it's true or a lie, a little investigation will tell. Although the investigation has not yet begun, Mary's doubts have already melted away like ice and snow. In the blink of an eye, the streets were deserted. The sound of rain blended into one, and it seemed as if only Harry and Mary remained in the world. Looking towards the gate of the hidden mist, there was only the tightly closed gate, and none of the many secret guards were to be seen. Mary, holding an umbrella, huddled under the eaves with Harry to avoid the rain, looking at the exceptionally beautiful blind woman in front of him. Mary was filled with a myriad of thoughts. Do you want to help her? She knew about Tensaku Street. The most bustling red light district in the Land of Fire is located in the southwest. It is filled with casinos, hotels, and amusement parks, making it a place where it is easy to violate the 3 prohibitions of ninjas. The teachers at the Ninja Academy once mentioned this place specifically when explaining the 3 prohibitions of ninjas. Li's father was a businessman, so it was normal for his family to live in such a money pit. From the Misty Village, we arrived at Tensaku Town. To reach the Land of Fire, one must first travel to Byakugan Port, a coastal city in the Land of Water, and then take a boat. The round trip takes at least 2 months. What if something happens in the village during such a long period of time wrong? With her brother's whereabouts unknown and the situation in Wyan unclear, she fears that staying in the village alone will be of no use. The unfamiliar presence of the secret agents at the entrance made her feel uneasy. If someone in the secret agents had betrayed her brother, her being left alone in the village would likely be a disaster for him. Leave the village first! Find his brother and tell him about the situation in the village. Even if I can't find my brother, at least I can't become a hindrance to him. With his strength and without her as a burden, no one in the entire Hidden Mist village could stop him. And as long as her brother doesn't die, no one will dare to kill her and bear the serious consequences of being subjected to the Fierce Fang's insane revenge. She is safe and sound now, which means her brother's condition is not bad. As long as she is safe, it is the greatest help she can give her brother. Mary sorted out the logic in her mind. Determined. Looking down at the blind girl who was quietly waiting for her reply, he solemnly said, gray glass. I can help you get home, but if you come with me, you might encounter unimaginable dangers. Would you like to come with me? It would be more dangerous for me if I didn't go with you. Despite inwardly complaining, Li nodded in agreement without hesitation. Upon seeing this, a charming smile appeared on Mary's face. Then let's set off tomorrow. To the land of fire. Upon hearing this, Li grinned, revealing the only genuine smile she had shown in a long time. Wow! Exclamation! The rain intensified, but amidst the dark clouds in the sky, glimmers of dawn gradually appeared. End of this chapter. Chapter 12, Class 7. Chapter 12, Class 7. Bang bang. Teacher Truth, we're here. Mary, still wearing her pajamas, rubbed her damp hands on the apron around her waist a couple of times before running to open the door. Having just taken a shower, Li sat at the dining table drying her wet hair, with the package she had retrieved from the hotel placed on the stool next to her. The door opens. 3 teenagers, around 10 years old, sauntered in. It's raining really hard today. A blond boy wearing a black tracksuit walked in first, his slightly protruding brow bone making his eyes appear bright and spirited. He disdainfully shook the water droplets off his hands. I think it's okay. A boy with a purple coat draped over his shoulders and a broad sickle slung across his back calmly opened a wet umbrella and placed it on the ground outside to dry. His handsome features showed a hint of curiosity as he looked at the unfamiliar silver-haired girl at the dinner table. TCH. Of course you, who plays with water escape techniques, think it's all right. Who told some unlucky souls to awaken the most countered fire release technique in Kirigakure, the village with the most water release ninjas? The purple-clad youth said in a sinister tone. Who are you calling an unlucky guy? The blond boy instantly bristled. Of course it's you. Is there even a question? Stop fighting. Behind the two, a pretty girl dressed in a light blue tight-fitting shorts and with 2 flaxen braids hanging down her back walked into the house, skillfully grabbed their collars, and separated the two who were almost kissing face to face. Hyuga, if they keep making noise, we won't need anesthesia next time we treat them. Mary put down her slippers, saw her students making a fuss, smiled knowingly, winked at the girl, and said, She has never used anesthesia. Yuanshi and Kyukan shouted in unison. Using anesthetics will have adverse effects on medical ninjutsu. The girl offered a dismissive explanation, her large, bright green eyes gazing at the silver-haired girl with her eyes covered at the dining table. Is she the one who commissioned us for this mission? Yes, her name is Harry. Our mission is to escort her to Tanabata Street in the Land of Fire. The mission difficulty is sea level, Mary said without turning her head as she flipped a spatula while wearing an apron. My name is Hyuga. Nice to meet you. Hyuga greeted Hyuga with a polite smile as she approached. 2 boys stepped forward and introduced themselves. Through their explanation, Hyuga finally understood the relationship between them. The blond boy was named Shin Akamura. The boy he argued with was named Oma, and along with Karin Toyama, the 3 were good friends from the Ninja Academy. After graduating and becoming genin, they were assigned to the same ninja team under Mary Kuryu, forming Team 7. The ninja villages of the 5 great nations have clear regulations. Any ninja who wants to leave the village, except to carry out a mission, must explain the reason and obtain approval. Leaving the village without permission will be treated as a rogue ninja. Mary Kuryu secretly left the village despite the secret police's blockade. Although it was against the rules, it could also be said that she was worried about her family and was looking for her brother. No one would take it seriously. However, without a suitable reason, it would be a big deal for a jonin from Kirigakure to secretly go to the Land of Fire. She might be accused of being a traitorous spy. Therefore, Mary took Harry to the Mizukage building to accept her escort mission, and at the same time confirmed that Harry had indeed issued the mission 3 days earlier and was not waiting for her. As the teacher of Class 7, Mary Kuryu accepted the mission, and naturally, the other members had to follow along. The notifications were being sent out around dinner time, so Mary Curry simply invited everyone to her house for dinner. Blah blah. Flames filled the kitchen, and hot oil crackled and popped. After washing their hands, Tanshin Huali and the other two sat around the dining table with Huili, chatting idly while waiting for the meal to begin. Perhaps because Huili had a friendly appearance and was of similar age, the group quickly became acquainted. Grey Ridge, I heard that the Land of Fire is incredibly prosperous, especially Tanabata Street. It's said that huge groups of rich people are there, and one ninjutsu could wipe out a whole bunch of them. Is that true or not? Kyukungsen, with his fiery and restless personality, couldn't sit still and immediately started a conversation. Are you an idiot? The sharp-tongued Yang Zhen pointed to her eyes as a reminder. Unfortunately, Kyukungsen didn't understand, and his angry glare made him look like he was about to explode. I'm sorry, Brother Kyukungsen. Due to a congenital physical condition, I rarely go out, so I don't know much about the situation there. Huili, her delicate face upturned behind the blindfold, spoke in a calm voice. Sometimes she was incredibly grateful for her decision to pretend to be blind. Otherwise, she wouldn't know how to cover up some of her lies. Meanwhile, Huili inwardly applauded her brilliant decision, but at this moment, Kyukungsen felt that he deserved to die! No. I'm sorry. Kyukungsen opened his mouth but didn't know what to say, so he could only apologize with guilt. Contrary to his usual behavior, Yanjin did not continue to mock his bad friend, but instead offered a reasonable suggestion. Why don't you let Huali take a look? She is one of the few medical ninjas in the ninja world. Maybe she can help. Impossible. Tanshin Huali shook her head and rejected Yanshin's suggestion. Even a medical ninja cannot cure congenital disabilities. Her optic nerve may have already died. Karin. Oma interrupted Karin's long-winded speech, turning to Harry with an awkward smile. Sorry, that's just how she is when it comes to medical ninjutsu. She always takes medical ninjutsu so seriously, and as her teammate, he's long been used to it. However, upon first meeting Huili, Tsuyama Mary's self-absorbed speech was quite rude. It's all right. I'm already very grateful that you can help me get home. Faced with Huili's sincere gratitude, the three waved their hands repeatedly. Seeing that Tanshin Huali had realized what was happening and was now silent, Huili felt a little sorry. She was still quite eager to hear more about how medical ninjutsu worked in this world. Bearing the mysterious and eerie bloodstains of the corpse bone pulse, and having awakened them at the young age of 6, she doesn't know if she will contract the same bloodstained disease as Kimimaro in the original story. Take precautions before they happen. Whether you're training on your own or seeking out a master, it's essential to learn as much as possible about medical ninjutsu. At this moment, Tanshin Huali realized that she had been too serious and quickly tried to make amends. Maybe it's because I'm not skilled enough. Maybe Tsunade, who is known as a medical expert, could have a solution. Tsunade time. Huang Mao, Kyukungsen, looked up in surprise, his gaze towards Tanshin Huali filled with an indescribable strangeness. You know Tsunade too? Karin. Tanshin's tone instantly became excited, like a fanatic fan hearing someone mention their idol. The medical master, the strongest medical ninja in the ninja world, one of the legendary Sannin of Konoha, the granddaughter of the god of shinobi, the founder and promoter of medical ninjas in the ninja world, and the princess of the Land of Fire. You, a guy whose head is full of fire-style techniques, actually know about her. The Tanshin rosewood tree looked quite proud of itself. Huh? I don't know. Kyukungsen scratched the back of his head. I thought you were talking about that blonde cow from the novel. A blonde cow! Exclamation as Huili listened to Kyukungsen's description. Images from her past life's comics flooded her mind, and she couldn't help but blurt out, the novel that Brother Kyukun is talking about. Could it be Make Out Paradise? Hey, how did you know? Kyukungsen froze on the spot as if his secret had been discovered. What is Intimacy Paradise? When Tanshin Huali heard about the character with the same name as her idol, she couldn't help but ask curiously. I've heard the adults in my family mention it. It seems to be a pornographic book. Li said calmly. Pornographic material. Immediately, Yuanshi and Tanshin Huali glanced at Kyukan-zin with disdain in their eyes. That's not pornography, that's art. Don't you understand art? Faced with the contempt of the crowd, Kyukan-zin, his face red and neck thick with anger, loudly retorted as if he were about to explode at any moment. Then came an even stronger sense of contempt. Looking at the three people interacting at the table, gray glass petal-like lips curled up, and she slowly took a sip of the barley tea on the table. The kitchen was filled with the aroma of food, the clatter of spatulas, and the noise of the crowd, a cacophony that seemed to transport me back to the joyful times of childhood spent with friends. If only that disaster hadn't happened. End of this chapter. Chapter 13 Departure. Chapter 13 Departure. Early morning. A hazy cloud shrouded the misty mountain peaks. Walking along the misty streets, Li felt as if she were living in the clouds, her vision blurred and unclear, as if a layer of frost had been added to her already mild glasses. The heavy rain last night didn't stop until the early hours of the morning, but when I went out this morning, I found that the water on the streets wasn't deep, with only a little rainwater in the uneven puddles. The white cane tapped on the pavement, occasionally making a splashing sound. Grayish-brown boots, resembling deer feet, trod on the loose paving stones, and murky rainwater rippled from the cracks between the stones. Knock, knock, da. The white cane stopped. Li stood in front of the gate of Wyan, holding a white cane in her right hand and being supported by Tanshin Huali with her left hand. Behind him were two bodyguards, Shin Akamura and Oma far away. Through the mist, Mary Kuryu is negotiating with the secret agents guarding the gate. Do you know who Teacher Li Shengzhen's brother is? Tanshin Huali helped Huali up while whispering to her. The feelings between girls can be quite mysterious sometimes. They might only meet once, yet they can hold hands and go to the bathroom together as if they've known each other for years. Of course, when things turn sour, even a trivial matter can turn them into mortal enemies. Who is it? It's Li Shengzhen, the head of the Dark Division, known as Fierce Fang. Unable to contain himself, Shin Akamura raised his hands. Gray Li probably doesn't know how important the captain commander of the Anbu is. He is the highest leader of the Anbu, responsible only to the Mizukage. You could say he is second only to the Mizukage and above all others. You've forgotten Elder Yuanshi. Yuanjin followed behind, subtly arguing, which earned her a furious glare from Kyukan-zin. It turned out to be the case. It turns out that Kuryu Mary is Kyuuba's younger sister. No wonder the Anbu members are so polite to Kuryu Mary. You can hear their greetings even from a distance. However, the name Ferocious Fang sounds familiar. It's like I've heard it somewhere before. Li pondered silently for a moment, and soon retrieved the relevant memories from her mind. Dark night. A dense forest like a meat grinder, where blood and mist mingled. The brown-haired, blue-eyed captain of the Dark Guard, exuding a terrifying aura, led a large number of Dark Guards in a charge. Wielding twin swords, he cleaved the man dressed in clothing bearing the emblem of the Bamboo clan in two with a single blow. That person seemed to be called Ferocious Fang. The man whose body he severed, with his thick silver hair and cold face, was none other than Li's biological father. Okay. After negotiating with the Anbu, Kuryu Mary returned the registered ninja ID cards to the three members of the Toyama trio. Toyama Karin released Harry's arm, took the ID cards, folded them neatly, and put them into her inner lining. Gray glass, you don't have any identification documents on you, so we need to conduct an additional check. Seeing that Harry's face was tense, Kuryu Mary thought she was nervous because she was afraid of not being able to pass the test. So she patted Harry's hair and comforted her. Don't worry, it's just a routine matter. Ah. Li nodded, unsure of how to face the sister of her father's killer. She was not a transmigrator with no ties to this world, but a soul reincarnated at the brink of life and death, who unraveled the mystery of her unborn child. That's why he adapted so well to the cruel ninja world right after he awoke. Her 6 years of memories in the ninja world seemed insignificant compared to her more than 30 years of memories from her previous life, but she was still inevitably affected by the memories of this life. In her memory, flashbacks appeared of her mother, whose eyes had been gouged out, teaching her to awaken the Byakugan, and her taciturn father, training her in martial arts. The images of their deaths in battle completely overlapped with the images of her parents who lost their lives in the earthquake in her previous life. Unaware of anything amiss, Mary took Harry's small hand and led her to the door, looking at the waiting raven-faced Anbu member with an annoyance, and said, "Investigate." Mist Raven stepped forward, completely disregarding Mary's appalling attitude. He had already consulted the captain about Mary's matter, and the reply was clear: ignore it, don't provoke her, don't obstruct her, and finally, we absolutely cannot let the murderer who killed Hashino and Naoko get away with it! Young lady, please give me your hand, okay? Although Mist Raven's voice sounded somewhat muffled due to the mask, Grey Glass could still easily detect the flippancy in his words. I don't know anything more. Now everything was pitch black in front of her. In the original story, Konoha has a barrier that can detect chakra. It's unknown whether Kirigakure has one as well. To prevent any accidents, she quietly stopped the chakra circulation system in her meridians while she was standing at the door waiting for Mary, forcibly confining her physical and mental energy to her upper and lower danshin to prevent them from merging, thus avoiding possible chakra detection. This is a unique skill that can only be mastered by those with the micromanagement skills of the Byakugan and the physical control of the Shikotsumyaku. Raise your hand. The sword flashed. Huey felt a chill on her fingers, which then turned into a stinging pain hiss. Huey quickly withdrew her fingers as if she had been burned. Although she had no chakra in her body, the passive effect of the Shikotsumyaku corpse bone pulse was still present. She clearly sensed a small cut on the pad of her index finger that was rapidly healing itself. What are you doing? Mary reached out and shielded Harry behind her, coldly staring at Mist Crow holding a blood-stained kunai. Don't be nervous, it's just a routine checkup. As the conflict erupted, the three from Tonshin quickly ran over, forming a triangular formation to protect Huey in the middle and confront the Dark Division. Yanshin and Kiyukun Shingo stood on either side of Huey, while Tonshin Huali carefully supported Huey's left wrist and took out medicine from her ninja tool bag to stop the bleeding. Everyone, please calm down, Fog Raven said, pressing his hands together to soothe them. The ninja world is full of unpredictable secret techniques, and the methods of spies from various villages are diverse. There are transformation techniques that are indistinguishable from real people, and chakra suppression techniques that can lock chakra fluctuations with sealing techniques. How can ordinary detection methods defend against them? The Bloodhound chimed in. Even the most powerful transformation technique is essentially constructed from chakra. As long as this construction is destroyed, it can manifest its original form. Hearing this explanation, Mary's expression softened slightly, but when she saw the pained little face of the girl named Hai Rai, her disgust for Wu Ye and the others intensified. In the middle of the three, Huey lowered her head and endured the pain. Her small hands clenched tightly, and the nail of her thumb pried open the wound on her index finger, which was almost healed. The pain of tearing the skin made her frown. Her palms and the spaces between her fingers were wet and slippery. She didn't know when the other person's examination would end. The Byakugan's ability to manipulate the body relies on ocular power, which in turn comes from the conversion of chakra. Now that there is no chakra in his body, his control over his physical body has also quietly disappeared, and he can only manually suppress the passive self-healing power of the Shikotsumyaku corpse bone pulse. Fortunately, due to the scarcity of chakra, the self-healing power of Shikotsumyaku was suppressed, so the wound that had just been cut did not heal instantly. All right, the transformation test is complete. We can now begin the formal examination. Mist Raven casually handed the bloodstained kunai to the bloodhound beside him, made a hand seal, and bypassed Kuryumary's protection to arrive in front of Gray. Beneath the comical crow-face mask, the crow's voice remained flippant, but its eyes, hidden behind the mask's holes, were as sharp as knives. I'm a very sensitive person. If you, young lady, do anything that could easily cause misunderstandings, please let me know in advance to avoid a situation that no one wants to see. End of this chapter. Chapter 14, Successfully Leaving the Village. Chapter 14, Successfully Leaving the Village, the gate hidden in the mist. The eyes of the Dark Guard led by Fog Raven and Bloodhound and the four-man squad led by Kuryu converged on one side, holding a white cane in her right hand and her left hand covered in blood. The silver-haired girl wore a hood and her delicate face was shrouded in mystery with her eyes covered by a strip of pure black cloth. Mist Raven quickly formed hand seals, finally making the Chinese letter seal facing Gray Glass. At this moment, Gray Glass lost her sight and was surrounded by darkness, unaware of Mist Raven's actions. However, her keen, invisible senses detected that some kind of opposite chakra was slowly invading her body, as if it were searching for something a long time. The chakra, having gained nothing, disappeared in frustration. Mist Raven slowly withdrew her hand seals and nodded to the Bloodhound beside her, indicating that there was no chakra fluctuation within Gray Glass's body. Seeing this, Kuryumary breathed a sigh of relief, and all her doubts about Harry were completely dispelled. That's it. Say that, then you're about to leave with Harry, Kuryu said. No, Miss Curio, please don't be impatient. There's one last checkup. Fog Raven reached out to stop him, his gaze sharpening as he looked at Gray Glass, who wore a blindfold and appeared particularly mysterious. Miss, please take off the blindfold from your face. Huey Lai paused for a moment, almost impossible to detect, yet precisely captured by the mist crow that had been observing Gray Glass all along, making the vague guess in his heart even more certain. There's something wrong with this blind woman! Hasn't our chakra already been tested? Why do we need to check our eyes again? Kuryumary asked, puzzled. There was no need to have your eyes checked. Ignoring Kuryumary, Kirigakure stared intently at Kairi's blindfolded eyes, as if trying to pierce them through the black cloth. Such a beautiful blind woman has stayed in the hidden mist for so long, and yet she is still safe and sound. Miss, I'm not targeting you. I just don't know when the security in our hidden mist village became so good. Wow, the eyes of the members of the Dark Division all turned to Huey Lai. Her long, silver-gray hair cascaded over her shoulders, her fair skin shone brightly against the black cloth, her nose was straight yet not obtrusive, and her cherry-pink lips added a touch of sweetness. Even though she was too young and had not yet grown up, the girl already exuded a unique charm. The expressions of the four members of the group couldn't help but show some hesitation. Mist Raven's suspicions were not without merit, not to mention him. She herself had her own doubts. A girl with such outstanding looks has no guardian, no identification, and is even blind, lacking any ability to protect herself or escape. Such a big piece of fat meat, parading around every day, has no one ever thought about among the merchants traveling to and from Wyan. There are many human traffickers. They didn't like it. Questioning gazes of the crowd focused on Huey Lai's face. Even though it was pitch black in front of her, Huey Lai could still feel the scorching heat. Having lost sight, which they had relied on for so long, the other senses in their bodies seemed to become more sensitive. Now is not the time for testing. Suppressing her unease, she handed the white cane to the person next to her. She didn't know who the person was, but could tell from their heavy breathing that they were probably not Tonshin Huali. If I really am blind, can I leave the village? Huey Lai raised her face and asked, of course. That's what Fog Crow answered decisively. The members of the Anbu and Kuryumary, who were watching from the side, nodded inwardly. A spy can lack chakra, be unable to use ninjutsu, and can even be a child. But there is only one thing. A spy absolutely cannot be blind or deaf. No fool would send a truly blind person as a spy. If Huey Lai is indeed blind, That would be the best proof of her identity. Lower your head. Li slowly removed the blindfold, then opened her eyes to face the crowd. The onlookers suddenly felt a tightness in their chests. Within the gray glasses eye sockets were two crystal-like eyeballs. His eyes were not like the bright and clear eyes of ordinary people, but were a strange rocky gray. There was not even a pure pupil in the middle of his eyes, as if they were two round and stubborn rocks. With her exceptionally delicate features, she didn't resemble a real person, but rather a doll meticulously crafted by an artisan. This Mist Raven never expected that the eyes hidden under the gray glass blindfold would look like this. No further checks are needed. There was no need to examine these eyes any further. They were dull and lifeless, more like stone than any dead object. Is this all right, Ninja Master? Li raised her face and unabashedly showed everyone her strange eyes. I wish you a speedy recovery, young lady. Please allow me to pass. Thank you. Li put the blindfold back on. The fog crow waved its hand. The ninja guarding the gate opened the tightly closed gate of Kirigakure. Here you go, gray glass. Ryukungsen put the white cane back into Li's hand, his tone slightly apologetic, as if he regretted doubting Li's thoughts earlier. Li nodded indifferently. The dusty door creaked open, bringing with it a bit of smoke and dust. They lingered for a long time in front of the hidden mist gate. The morning mist had quietly dissipated and a warm sunlight shone on gray glass, leaving sharp shadows on the ground. Thump, 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 the white cane tapped the ground rhythmically as gray glass and the Karyu squad, watched by the Ambu, successfully passed through the gate of mist. Outside the village, Li and the others walked along a forest path. The brilliant chakra illuminated his internal organs again, and light, figures, and everything around him gradually appeared in his dark vision. The sky was bright. The chirping of birds and cicadas in the woods didn't feel noisy, and the humid air felt even fresher. Perhaps it's because of freedom. Li sighed inwardly. Having finally escaped the prison called Mist Forbidden City, their bleak lives seemed to brighten a little. The inspection of the dark areas was carried out with great care. Li was fully aware of her own weaknesses, so she had already formed a layer of peristium on the surface of her eyeball. The cloudy peristium covered the pure white eyes with gray pupils. This not only concealed her white eyes but also protected them to some extent, as the bone membrane generated by the corpse bone vein was sufficient to withstand most hidden weapons. The most ingenious thing is that the Byakugan itself can see through things, which is foolish self-blindness to others, but perfect goggles to Li. The eerie and unpredictable corpse vein, coupled with the all-seeing white eyes. The combination of the two has been explored in countless creative ways by Grey Glass. Let's turn our attention back to ourselves. The Byakugan's unique 360-degree panoramic view completely enveloped Curio and the others. The blonde-haired Ryukungsen skipped and hopped along, his excitement about leaving the village likely to linger for a long time. Yang Zhen, dressed in purple, carried a broad sickle on her back, her head bowed, lost in thought. Tonshin Huali, with her flaxen braids, helped Yuli up, her large, emerald-like eyes looking around. Kuryu Mary's brown hair fell to her shoulders, and her beautiful face was slightly furrowed, making her look worried. Chakra continuously transforms into pupil power, stretching upwards for a clearer field of vision. 4 figures, 1 large and 3 small, with flowing light circulating within their bodies, immediately appeared. Among them, Kuryu Mary, a Jonin, possessed the most chakra, which flowed along her meridians and had a deep blue hue like the ocean. Ajin's chakra was similar to that of Copper Mountain Karin, appearing as a light blue color. However, his arm muscles and bones were much more robust, clearly indicating that he belonged to the taijutsu-type ninja. Surprisingly, among the 3, Akamura Shin had the largest amount of chakra, and the flow rate was extremely fast. Although his chakra was light blue, it had an active quality that seemed ready to explode at any moment. Of course, large is only relative. The combined chakra of the three of them is roughly equal to that of Hyuga, and even if the combined chakra of the four of them were doubled, it still wouldn't equal the amount of chakra of Kuryumeri. Special Jonin. By weighing Kuryumeri's chakra and physical strength against those of the Anbu, Li determined the opponent's ninja rank. Don't be fooled by the fact that the so-called Jonin in the original work are just so-so. In reality, Jonin are already the leadership of their respective villages and can participate in the election and voting of the village cage. The level that truly holds power. A special Jonin is someone who has reached the level of a Jonin in a certain aspect, but is still somewhat lacking in other aspects, so they can only be rated as a special Jonin. Kuryumeri is a typical example of someone whose chakra reserves reach the Jonin level, while her taijutsu is roughly at the Chunin level. The level of his ninjutsu is unknown even so. If Harry wanted to fight Kuryumeri head-on, she would face a near-certain death. If my identity is exposed, the peaceful life I have now will soon turn into a life full of danger. I need to make plans for some things as soon as possible. Hopefully things won't get that bad. Li prayed silently in her heart. Memories awaken from the battlefield, and what they find upon awakening is a series of killings. I do not know your name, nor do I inquire about your past. Just to survive. Now, she has met Kuryumeri, who, though the younger sister of her father's killer, is also the benefactor who saved her from suffering. The three men from Copper Mountain are also acquaintances of hers, considered her peers in this world, and are filled with goodwill towards her. At least for now, she didn't want to shatter this beautiful moment. Gray, let me carry you, Kuryumeri said, looking at Gray, who was slowly walking with her cane, as if she had made a decision. Upon hearing this, Li, who was silently observing with a disdainful look, was taken aback. No need, Sister Zhenli, I can walk by myself. No, Harry. Kuryumeri stopped and turned around, and the three little ones stopped as well. Besides helping you get home, Li, I also have my own mission to complete this trip out of the village. At our current pace, it will take us a long time to reach the land of fire. Kuryumeri looked at Harry with utmost sincerity. I know you're embarrassed to trouble me, but please do it for my sake. Kuryumeri's invitation was full of sincerity. In that case, all right. Thank you, Sister Zhenli, and thank you everyone. I really don't know what I would have done without you all. Faced with Li's sincere gratitude, the four members of Li Sheng smiled at the same time. No need to be so polite. Tanshin Huali carefully helped Li up and let her lean on Kuryumeri's back, while Ki Kunzin and Yamjin carried Li's package and cane respectively. Hold on tight. Ah. Li's slender arms gently encircled Kuryumeri's neck, her face resting on his shoulder, and an unknown fragrance wafting from the strands of hair around her nose. Then let's go. Yes! For as Kuryumeri listened to the soft, gentle voice in her ear, her back felt light and soft as if boneless, and her azure eyes narrowed into slits. Little gray glass is so cute! Hey! A laugh as sweet as that of Lady Ishii echoed in Kuryumeri's heart. End of this chapter. Chapter 15 The Price of Excellence. Chapter 15 The Price of Excellence. Captain, Kuryumeri has left the village. Where did you go? She took on an escort mission to the land of fire, and went with her client and her 3 students. Anbu. Odingu leaned back in his chair, gently pounding his chest as he listened to his subordinate, Mist Crow, report. What client? Such a tall little girl, and she's blind. Crow raised his left hand and placed it on his waist and abdomen. According to Kuryumeri, this girl's father was a merchant from the land of fire. He came to Kirigakure to do business but disappeared unexpectedly. Blind girl. The great Tengu's eyes narrowed. The previous order to seal off the village was due to the lack of high-end combat power in Kirigakure, and the fear of being discovered by spies and attracting Orochimaru. I just received news yesterday that Captain Fang and his Anbu are close to the border of the Land of Water and have engaged Orochimaru in battle. I also received news from Genji that Ao has dispelled the genjutsu in the Mizuki's mind, leaving only the final cleanup. He can return in 3 days at most. To prevent attacks from mysterious figures at crucial moments, Master Yuan and his team are providing close protection. They are currently in underground bases in the shadows. It can be said that the crisis in Kirigakure has been largely resolved, except for the mysterious murderer who initially killed Hashino and Naoko, whose whereabouts remain unknown. That person seems to be a ghost. The scene was cleaned up extremely well, and even his most skilled tracking dogs couldn't find a trace of him. Are you sure it's okay? There was no chakra fluctuation in the blind girl's body, and there were no calluses from practicing taijutsu on her fists and palms. Her body muscles were smooth and her skin was delicate and uninjured. My subordinate took her blood to confirm that it was not a transformation technique. Finally, we asked her to remove the blindfold to test whether her blindness was real. We've collected some of her blood. If you suspect anything, I'll go and bring her back right away. The raven talked a lot, but never mentioned its own judgment, and in the end it passed the buck back to the raven. Faced with the slippery mist crow, Odingu was helpless. After thinking for a moment, he felt that the test had been thorough enough, and casually waved his hand. No need. Inform the village ninja that the Mizuki and Master Genji are about to return, and the village ban will be lifted soon. Tell them not to bother me. Yes. The crows lowered their heads and vanished into the flowing water. The underground chamber returned to tranquility. Watching the mist crows retreat, Odingu felt uneasy for some reason. He thought about it for a while but couldn't figure it out, attributing it to the slight unease brought on by the release of inner pressure from the return of the Mizuki soon. As long as King Darren returns. With the Byakugan's powerful assistance, the culprit who killed Genku and the others will surely not escape the investigation. Thinking of his closest friend and family who had been brutally murdered, the voice from his memory involuntarily echoed in Tobiake Takudo's mind. Takudo, I don't want to kill my comrades. We have to change all of this together, change this damned village of blood mist. For we, like wild grass, joining the shadowy forces is our only chance of survival. We need power. If we can become high-ranking members of the village, we can change the current situation in Kirigakure. I married Naoko, and you like Naoko too, right? I know. Even if you're my best friend, I won't give Naoko up to you. Naoko is pregnant, so I might have to leave the Anbu. I cannot let my child be born in a village like this. Takudo, you are the most talented ninja I have ever seen. You will definitely change this damned village of blood mist. I'm sorry, this unworthy brother of yours can no longer accompany you. Takudo, hey! Exclamation! A yellow flame shot out from the lighter, the flame licking the cigarette butt, casting flickering light on the basement walls. Cough, cough, cough. With a cigarette between his fingers, Tachichi Takudo covered his mouth to suppress a cough, blood gushing from his nose and mouth, leaving mottled bloodstains on his mask and clothes. The eyes, flashing blue light, flickered between light and darkness. The most talented person. Hyuan con cough, cough, cough. Ugh. 2 days later. Here, be careful, it's hot. Thank you, brother Kiyukun. As night fell, firelight flickered in the eerie forest. Huey took the roasted pheasant of unknown origin handed to her by Kyukungsen, carefully blew on it, and put it in her mouth. Call! Exclamation! So hot. Huey chewed quickly, exhaling hot breath continuously. The unique aroma of oil in the mouth, mixed with the slight saltiness of sea salt, and the chicken is not as soft and mushy as ordinary broiler chicken. It has a chewy and springy texture. Is it delicious? Shin-chan asked, looking at Gray with anticipation. Delicious, Huey nodded emphatically, then took another big bite. Kyukungsen chuckled to himself as his cooking skills were praised. Your fire jutsu is only somewhat useful in this aspect. Yonjin tore off a piece of chicken to check if it was cooked through, glanced at Kyukungsen's smug look, and couldn't help but say something to tease him. Xiao Yang, come out with some water magic later. I need to wash my feet. Kungsan quickly retorted. Before Yang Zhen could say anything, Tongchen Huali and Li Shengzhen, who were eating with him, glared at him with disdain while chewing on roast chicken. Seeing that Shinichi Akamura, who had angered the two women, dared not utter a word, Oma chuckled to herself and was about to lower her head to eat tear. The savory meat juices splattered everywhere. Huey Lai had finished the whole roast chicken without anyone noticing, and casually pulled a chicken leg off his roast chicken. Hey, gray glass is mine. Yang Zhen looked completely bewildered. Huey Lai finished the chicken leg she had snatched in a few bites, then held up her hands, lightly licking the juices from the corners of her mouth. Her delicate face, covered by a blindfold, was full of innocence. I'm sorry, Donjin-ji, I can't see, haha. Curio Mary and the other two burst into laughter, with Akamura Shin's laughter being the most unrestrained. Haha, well done, Sister Huey Lai. This person can't shut up even while eating. Here, you can have this chicken leg too. Kungsan gave Huey Lai a thumbs up, regardless of whether she could see it or not, and then tore off a leg from his roast chicken. Yanshin looked at the roast chicken in her hand, which was missing a drumstick, and shook her head helplessly. Huey Lai is well-behaved and lovable, and also beautiful. Although they haven't known each other for long, she holds a very high position in the chestnut squad. Whether it's Curio Mary, Akamura Shin, or Tazan Karin, they all have a great fondness for Harry. Huey Lai is at the age where she is growing, and I, as a ninja, will not argue with a child. I've only taken a couple of bites. Seeing that Huey Lai had finished the chicken leg that Kyukun had just handed her in a few bites, her cherry blossom-like little mouth was making a fuss as if she hadn't eaten enough. Yanjin blinked, pulled off the last roasted chicken leg, and coolly stuffed it into Huey Lai's hand. Thank you, Brother Yanshin. Huey Lai beamed with joy and finished her meal in 2 quick bites. Since awakening her corpse bone pulse and Byakugan, her stomach has become like a bottomless pit. Any food that enters her stomach is quickly broken down and digested into energy by the powerful stomach acid. If this energy isn't used up, it will be converted into chakra and stored in the body. If she reduces her metabolism, she might even only eat 1 meal every 10 days or so. Without such an efficient ability to acquire energy, it would be difficult for her to obtain chakra comparable to that of a chunin at such a young age. Watching as Huey Lai quickly finished off the food in her hand, everyone's eyes suddenly widened out of curiosity. Karyu Mary and Toyama Karin also joined in feeding Harry. Watching everyone curiously surround her through the blindfold, handing her 1 chicken leg after another, Huey Lai felt like a chicken-eating performance artist. I seemed to be hallucinating. One more exclamation, the kind of applause that street performers use. Clearing away her inner turmoil, Huey Lai devoured all the chicken legs one after another. Being watched is a minor matter, replenishing energy is the major issue. With sufficient energy, she could proceed with her next plan, the Perfect Fighter Body Modification Project. End of this chapter. Chapter 16 Perfect Body. Chapter 16 Perfect Body, the Perfect Fighter Body Modification Project. To further develop the Byakugan and Shikotsumyaku, Huey Lai created the body control ability that ignores the interconnectedness of the human body's systems. Based on the principles of kinesiology from the previous life, I personally crafted a perfect body capable of withstanding high-intensity combat. In the ninja world, there are 3 main types of ninjas: physical techniques, ninjutsu, and illusion techniques. These 3 types are not ranked in terms of strength or weakness. They are only related to the techniques that ninjas are good at using. Both the Kaguya and Hyuga clans rarely use ninjutsu. Aside from the Shikotsumyaku corpse bone pulse techniques, the only ninjutsu that Huey Lai possesses is the basic 3-body technique, which every student at the Ninja Academy knows. Throughout the entire Naruto series, he's only slightly stronger than Rock Lee. He knew absolutely nothing about illusion magic. Only in terms of physical skills, Harry, who possesses the combined bloodlines of the Hyuga and Taketori, can be considered exceptionally gifted. Physical skills. It is a unique technique used by ninjas to enhance their physical bodies using chakra, and to fight enemies with martial arts moves. It is the most basic technique used by all ninjas. During the use of physical techniques, a ninja's chakra gathers in their muscle groups like blood surging, and they use these muscles in conjunction with martial arts movements to unleash powerful attacks. At the same time, muscles charged with chakra will generate a strong ability to withstand blows and have a strong defense against almost all blunt force trauma. Therefore, the stronger the physical body of a taijutsu-type ninja, the more chakra a person possesses. The resulting power then grows exponentially. If she could create a perfect body specifically for combat, she could maximize her taijutsu abilities even with limited chakra reserves. Back in Kirigakure, fearing that the Kirigakure Ambu would discover her weakness, Harry hesitated to realize her idea. Now that they've left the village, Mary no longer doubts her identity, and the shelved reform plan can be restarted. Of course, there is no such thing as perfection in the world. The perfect body that Li thinks of is more of a concept that can take into account various combat situations. Furthermore, she had already been involved in related modifications back in Kirigakure. To prevent her precious white eye from being coveted or damaged in battle, she grew a hard periosteum in front of her eyeball. It was this periosteum that allowed her to successfully evade the search by Kirigakure and escape from Kirigakure with Mary's team. The periosteum can grow in front of the eyeball, and it can also grow in other places. Don't let her delicate appearance fool you. Her skin is so tender it's practically dripping with moisture. In reality, beneath the skin's surface lies an extremely hard periosteum covering the entire body, and the abdomen, most vulnerable to fatal attacks, is protected by interlocking ribs forming a protective bony armor. If it's a normal person, being covered by such a periosteum can only turn one into a vegetable, unable to move the body at all. However, the power of the bloodline limit is simply unreasonable. Although the formation principle of Shikotsumyaku is unclear, under the influence of chakra, the periosteum inside Harry's body can be as hard as iron, yet can also be folded and bent at will without affecting normal movement. Even more powerfully, thanks to the support of her skeletal frame, she can exert even greater muscle strength. It was precisely the unique physique of the corpse bone vein that gave Li the confidence to use her half-baked knowledge of kinesiology to create the perfect physique she envisioned. Gray glass, I've got your sleeping bag and tent ready. It is good. Tonchin Huali set up the tent and carefully helped Li, who had been silent since finishing her meal and seemed lost in thought, inside. Lying in her sleeping bag, Li looked at Tongshan Huali, who was bending down to adjust her zipper, and felt as if she had become a seriously ill patient in a hospital, being carefully cared for by a conscientious and responsible caregiver. Nourishing tilde the tent zipper is closed. On the outside, the orange-yellow firelight flickered in and out. From Bayan's perspective, Mary was setting up traps around their temporary camp where they were resting. Q Kongson lay on the treetop, fully clothed, to prepare for the night watch shift. Tonchin Huali leaned against the tree trunk next to the gray glass tent, closing his eyes to rest. Yangjin sat upright at the highest point of the tree branch, keeping watch over the surroundings. They are such a reassuring group of teammates. The fee for this task was definitely worth it. With her eyes closed, Li continued to conceive of her own physical body. Let's start with the combat factors. There are many factors that influence combat, and since Li is not a scientist, she can only rely on a few attributes that she summarized from playing games in her previous life to make judgments. Attack, defense, speed, attack range. What kind of body can take all four factors into account? With the assistance of the corpse bone pulse, her defensive and offensive ranges don't require much intervention. Attack and speed are the areas she most needs to improve right now. Li struggled to recall her past life's memories, combining them with fighting games and rudimentary knowledge of kinesiology to painstakingly summarize her findings. Attacks include strength, attack speed, and weapon. In terms of weapons, nothing is more useful to Li than her own bones, as power offers the greatest control. Many people have deep misunderstandings about power. They believe that the bigger the muscles, the stronger the strength. This idea itself isn't wrong, but it reflects a very superficial understanding of strength. There are several important factors that influence strength. First, the total cross-sectional area of the muscle fibers recruited by the nerve. The thicker the muscle fibers, the larger their cross-sectional area and the more force they can generate. This is the basis for the common belief that large muscles equate to great strength. This idea itself is very inaccurate. Muscles themselves also contain sarcoplasm that does not participate in the exertion of force, and sarcoplasm accounts for a large proportion of the muscle. Second, is the initial length of the muscle fibers appropriate? Muscle fibers are like rubber bands. They have their own maximum length. An initial length that is too long or too short will affect the ability to generate force. Third, the angle of muscle traction and the point of force application. Based on the lever principle, whether you use a force-saving lever or a force-consuming lever when applying force will produce vastly different results. Fourthly, there's the composition ratio of muscle fibers. White muscle fibers are more powerful, while red muscle fibers are more durable. How do we maintain a balance between the two? Galulu Li pondered as she tried. Beneath the calm skin, the muscle tissue, under the control of Byakugan's pupil power, is constantly undergoing transformation to fulfill Grey Glass's vision. Chakra surged from his heart and attached itself to the muscle fibers in his arm. Bang bang! In Li's mind, there seemed to be a sound similar to a rubber band snapping. The muscle fibers automatically lengthen and tear under the control of body domination, and then quickly heal after absorbing chakra. Through her white eye, Grey Glass clearly observed that the repaired muscle fibers had become thicker and more resilient. The most terrifying thing is that the whole process was completely under Grey Glass's control, and she successfully suppressed the sarcoplasmic hypertrophy caused by muscle fiber growth. The sarcoplasm itself does not generate force for muscle contraction. It is an energy-supplying environment. The ninja's energy system relies entirely on chakra, and the role of sarcoplasm can be replaced. Inhibiting sarcoplasm means something terrifying. A muscle fiber of the same thickness can generate far more force than others. Pulling her arms out of the sleeping bag, Li moved them back and forth to feel the torque while adjusting the ratio of white to red muscles. Muscle fibers thicken, then thin, then thicken again, and their length extends and then contracts on its own. Through continuous experimentation, Grey Glass's muscle form gradually approached perfection a long time. Inside the dimly lit tent, her smooth arms were raised in midair. Li activated her white eyes and examined it carefully. The arms, which were originally slender and delicate, were slightly swollen. Because the growth of the sarcoplasm was inhibited, they were not as large as those of a bodybuilder, but rather in a natural and healthy state. Because her skin is covered by a layer of periosteum and fat, the fibrous muscle fibers that have been stretched are not visible on her face. The modified right arm is placed side by side for comparison with the left arm. His right arm was noticeably thicker than his left, yet strangely, it lacked any sense of strength that comes with muscle growth. Instead, it exuded a natural beauty and weight. It doesn't look like a real arm. Instead, it resembles an artistic sculpture made of mutton fat jade. Gently swing your right arm. Hoo-hoo. A series of strong winds could be heard coming from inside the tent, as if a fierce man with a leopard's head and piercing eyes was wielding a weapon. It seems a bit too heavy. Li gave an objective assessment of her own arm. Although her arms now appear to have soft, white skin like a young girl's, they actually have very low fat content in their smooth, plump shape. Beneath the thin layer of fat on the skin lies a hard periosteal armor, a thick layer that completely covers the arm. Further down are hard, bulging muscle tissues that resemble steel bars, and finally 2 arm bones that are harder and denser than steel. The outer layer of skin is used to confuse the enemy. The middle periosteum protects against sharp objects. The lower muscle layer acts as a buffer against blunt force trauma. The innermost arm bone provides support, ensuring the integrity of the body. How come I accidentally maxed out my defense when I was just trying to enhance my attack power? So, the best defense is offense? Is that what it means? Huili thought to herself. A high-quality body can resist external impacts and enhance the impact of attacks. However, extremely high mass can lead to slower startup speed, and the huge inertia makes it difficult to change direction when moving, affecting flexibility. If the entire body were modified in this direction, it would likely severely impact agility. This level of modification is merely an extreme example, far from perfect. The saying goes, the thickest armor you wear will bring the worst beating. While maintaining a constant body size, there must be a golden ratio between speed, strength, and mass. We still need to make a choice. Inside the tent, looking at the two arms that were completely different in thickness, Huili fell into deep thought. End of this chapter. Chapter 17 Chance Encounter. Chapter 17 Chance Encounter. Early morning. Sunlight filters through the leaves, casting rainbow-like halos. The lingering mist filling the forest echoes the rainbow lights, creating a mesmerizing, otherworldly scene. Shin-chan, An, and the others had finished washing up and getting ready, while Karin Tonshin was helping Karin tidy up the tent. Ha! Grey Glass yawned as she crawled out of the tent, clearly having had a very poor sleep last night. In her quest to find the balance between power, speed, and mass, she experimented until the early hours of the morning before finally falling asleep. The results were also very encouraging. Although she hasn't found the exact equilibrium point yet, she has found a general range. It's like an archery competition. Although her arrow didn't hit the center, it still managed to hit the bullseye, which is a huge improvement. At the same time, she also took advantage of the unique properties of the corpse bone vein, which allowed it to move at will and be as hard as steel. By stabilizing the connections between bones, the kinetic chain for transmitting force when muscles are engaged in any physical movement becomes more complete, greatly improving load-bearing capacity. According to Huili's brain test, her combat power is conservatively estimated to be at least twice as strong as before. Currently, Huili considers her current body to be the perfect Battle Body 1.0 version, with the possibility of further upgrades later. Did Huili not sleep well last night? Tonshin Huali rolled up the tent and carried it on her back. Seeing Huili yawning repeatedly, she couldn't help but ask. In the ninja world, there is no such thing as men doing manual labor and women enjoying pleasure. As the medical ninja with the lowest combat strength in the team, it is only natural for Copper Mountain Karin to protect the safety of her clients and bear some of the burden to lighten the load for the combatants. Yeah, it's all right. Maybe I'm just excited because I'm going home soon. Hee hee. We still have 2 days' journey to Byakugan port, and from there it will take another 7 or 8 days to take a boat to the port of the Land of Fire, and then it will be a long time before we reach Tensaku Street. Shin Akamura counted on his fingers, his excitement at the imminent arrival in the Land of Fire palpable. I also long for the rosewood from Tonshin. What is the Land of Fire, the most powerful and prosperous ninja country in the world, like? Will I happen to meet my idol, Lady Tsunade, in the Land of Fire? Don't dream about it, Karin. Tanabata is a famous red light district and a gambling den. How could your medical expert possibly go there? Yes. Oma and Shin Akamura reached an agreement, a rare occurrence. With the flame in her heart ruthlessly extinguished, Karin lowered her head, her 2 long flaxen braids hanging limply. Huili remained silent in the face of the crowd's discussion. If Karin Tonshin knew that the Tsunade-sama she admired was a gambling addict, she would be even more heartbroken than she is now. I really hope she never sees Tsunade in her life. By the way, where is Teacher Li Zhen? Tonshin Huali's emotions came and went quickly. She raised her head to seek the truth. She went to retrieve the traps she set last night. How long have you been gone? Yamjin's casual question was met with silence, and the group exchanged glances, their expressions instantly turning serious. Kuryu Mary held the kunai and carefully removed the straight steel wire stretched between the branches. Boom! Exclamation! The extremely resilient branches, bound and bent, sprang forward, lashing towards her beautiful cheeks like steel whips. Quickly retreat to avoid the attack. The branches, carrying a strong wind, whistled past, their tips whipping through the air with a sharp, piercing sound, like swords cutting through the air. Kuryu Mary's azure eyes warily scanned the surrounding dense forest, as if an enemy might appear at any moment. This trap was originally intended to launch kunai, but she anticipated it and removed the kunai from the wire. Even so, the trap's power was still astonishing. Without the deadly threat of the kunai, the incredibly strong branches were still enough to give any enemy who accidentally stepped on them a good beating. This morning, while retrieving her traps, she unexpectedly discovered that there were other people's traps not far from where she had set them. The person who set the trap was no ordinary person. Kuryu Mary made the judgment. Judging from the power and concealment of the traps, the shrewd angles and techniques, and the textbook perfect use of vegetation for cover, this person was undoubtedly a battle-hardened elite ninja. Furthermore, Kuryu Mary vaguely felt that some of the techniques were extremely familiar, as if she had seen them somewhere before. Right, it seems to be a technique used by the Dark Division. Could it be my brothers? So lucky! Exclamation! Thinking of this, a look of joy flashed in Kuryu Mary's eyes. She carefully searched for the hidden traps in the woods but did not dismantle them. Warning traps generally have a fixed pattern. The trap itself will not be too far away from the person who set it. Otherwise, the trap setter will not receive the warning signal. Soon, based on the location of the trap, Kuryu Mary roughly determined the area where the target was located and sneaked into it. Surprisingly, the secret service she thought of didn't exist. Mary Kuryu was hiding in the woods, carefully observing a clearing in the middle of the dense forest. She saw a girl dressed in linen clothes putting out a fire. The girl had fair skin and was exceptionally beautiful. The palm hovers in midair and presses down slightly. The flickering flames in the fire instantly died down under his touch. A look of surprise flashed across Kuryu Mary's eyes, for she actually saw glittering ice crystals in the fire. She is boom! Exclamation! Before Kuryu Mary could see clearly, a huge black shadow flew towards her in an instant. A dark shadow whistled past, heading straight for his face. Kuryu Mary was startled and instinctively ducked to avoid him. Don't touch me. I'm your captain's sister. The dark shadow flew overhead, slicing through countless tree branches before finally embedding itself in the trunk. Only then did she see the true face of the dark figure. The object stuck in the tree was a huge cleaver, its blade as wide as a door panel with crescent-shaped indentations on the edge. As a ninja from Kirigakure, Kuryu Mary recognized the sword's name and abilities at a glance. The broken blade, the executioner's blade, one of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist. It is enormous and can absorb iron from the blood of its enemies, allowing it to repair itself and recover its strength by drawing blood from them. Therefore, it is considered an unbreakable sword. And the current user of this ninja sword is Scraps from the Dark Bureau. Without a sound, a phantom suddenly appeared overhead, enveloping Kuryu Mary. She looked up as if she sensed something. The treetops overhead. The bandaged demon stood atop the peak, tilting its head and looking down at her with cold eyes. In a daze, she felt like an ant under its feet, about to be crushed to death at any moment. Kimito Mamachi Zabuza, the villain who killed all his classmates during the Ninja Academy graduation exam, causing the Kirigakure leadership to change their policies. He later became an elite jonin and even managed to assassinate the Mizukage unscathed, earning him the title of S-rank rogue ninja from Kirigakure. He was then hunted down by Kirigakure's Ambu for several years. Silently, the mist in the air grew thicker and more viscous until no one could be seen anymore. An invisible killing intent, emanating a nauseating stench, buried Kuryu Mary. Kuryu Mary awkwardly licked her dry lower lip, swallowing back the title of brother. I'm having a bit of bad luck. End of this chapter. Chapter 18, The Fate of Class 7. Chapter 18, The Fate of Class 7. Deep in the forest. The misty fog was now as thick as smoke, enveloping an area of about 100 meters and continuing to spread outwards like a tide. Standing atop a treetop, Kyukunksen looked out and noticed that the fog in the distance was not only unusually thick, but also distinctly different from ordinary fog, making it easy to pinpoint the source of the anomaly. It's the hidden mist technique. Teacher Truth is fighting the enemy. The fog is so thick. Yongjin also stood on the treetop, looking around with a gloomy expression. As an outstanding graduate of the Ninja Academy and a self-proclaimed master of the silent assassination technique, even 10 of him couldn't execute such a high-quality mist concealment technique given the density and breadth of the fog here. The enemy is very strong. Teacher Truth is in danger. We have to go help her. Tonshin Huali threw the tent on her back to the ground and pulled out a kunai from her ninja tool bag. Yajin, among the three of us, you are the most proficient in the hidden mist technique. What is its weakness? Weakness. Yang Zhen tilted her head, thought for a moment, and answered affirmatively: wind release, and the even larger mist concealment technique. I understand now. This mist concealment technique might not have been cast by the enemy. Teacher Truth should also have played a part in it. It turned out to be the case. Tonshin Huali understood immediately, and her expression softened. The essence of the hidden mist technique is to obscure vision with mist while simultaneously using chakra-filled mist to lock onto the enemy. By keeping the enemy in the light while keeping oneself in the dark, the power of this silent killing technique is maximized. The simplest way to break this technique is to use wind release to disperse the mist, or you can use the same mist concealment technique. In this way, you can't see the enemy, and the enemy can't see you either. This explains why the enemy was able to unleash such a large-scale mist concealment technique. Yangjin breathed a sigh of relief. Meanwhile, Tonshin Huali and the others were still staring at the thick fog and making wild guesses. Hai Lai, who was standing nearby, had already activated his Byakugan to observe the enemy's situation. For the Byakugan, the thick fog in front of him was almost nothing. The clear vision revealed 3 bright chakra reactions that were dazzlingly bright. The opponents are an elite Jonin and a Geninham, a decapitation sword. Huey Lai finally knows who her opponent is. She never expected to meet Zabuzumamachi here. The chakra reaction next to him must be white. Why did Curio Mary get into a fight with them? She is not in good condition. Rapid breathing. Are you injured? That's right, the opponent is that demon. Curio Mary, a mere special Jonin, has only managed to hold on until now because she, like Curio, is from Kirigakure and has a deep understanding of Kirigakure techniques and silent killing techniques. Use silent killing techniques and the fog instantaneous movement to play hide-and-seek with your opponent. However, this avoidance is merely a temporary measure. When her chakra is almost depleted and she can no longer maintain the hidden mist technique, that will be her death. Do you want to help her? Taking action rashly will expose one's bloodline limit. With his corpse bone pulse and white eyes, he's a treasure trove, but he can't withstand any abuse. How to Dahui Lai hesitated. Gray glass. Tonshin Huali suddenly ran over. Teacher Truth is in danger. We must go and save her. You stay here and don't wander off. Be a good girl and wait for us to come back. It is good. Here's a kunai for you to use in self-defense. If we don't come back, you'll have to leave on your own. Kimura Shin shoved a kunai into Huey Lai's hand, and the 3 of them settled Huey Lai aside and showed her the way. Regardless of whether she remembered or not, he left her some dry food and water, then turned and ran into the thick fog. A gentle breeze swept through the fog, and the 3 figures were quickly swallowed up by the thick fog. In the dense forest, Huey Lai sat blankly in place, all alone. Mary Curio, Karin Toyama, Shin Akamura, and Oma. They were going to die. Looking at Zabuza's vigorous chakra reaction in the mist, and Karyumeri's nearly depleted chakra and body covered in wounds, Harry made an objective judgment. Her best and safest choice now is to turn around and leave this place of trouble. She has now escaped from the hidden mist. With the help of these people, most of the route to the Land of Fire was completed. If you keep heading west, you will reach Byakugan Port, from where you can take a ship to the Land of Fire. Wide sea diving, sky high the birds to fly. Huey gripped the still warm dagger in her hand, silently making up her mind. A thick fog blanketed the area, so thick that you couldn't see your hand in front of your face. Ding! Karyumeri, with her left hand protecting her bloodied waist and abdomen, held her right arm across her face and used a kunai to precisely deflect the incoming shuriken. What followed was the terrifying decapitation blade. The broad blade swept across, clearing away the thick fog and creating a vacuum. Karyumeri hurriedly used her kunai to parry the sword, but its immense force sent her and her weapon flying in an instant, crashing into a tree trunk before bouncing back to the ground. Maintaining the hidden mist technique for so long has nearly depleted his chakra. My arms felt as if they were broken, utterly powerless, and a metallic taste kept rising in my throat. Blood was constantly draining from my abdomen, and the wind chilled me to the bone. With trembling hands supporting her heavy body, Karyumeri watched as the demon wielding a large sword gradually emerged from the mist, despair flashing in her azure eyes. The fog enveloping the space grew thinner and thinner. Without the cover of the thick fog, he would have absolutely no chance of winning against Zabuza Mamachi. The cold, demonic figure moved forward slowly with silent steps, raising its broad slashing blade into the air before bringing it down fiercely on her head. Karyumeri instinctively closed her eyes. Just as Mamachi Zabuza was about to kill the reckless ninja, he suddenly stopped swinging his sword and instead used his broad blade, which was as thick as a door panel, to block behind him. Ding 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 ding. A series of senbon needles were knocked away by the broadsword and disappeared into the grass. Zabuza turned around and looked back. A huge fireball came right in front of them. Boom! The expanding fireball, a scorching orange-yellow, devoured Zabuza the moment it touched him, then flew all the way until it struck a large tree, scorching the thick trunk black with flames. After spewing out a fireball, Shin Akamura didn't even look at his own victory, and he and Karan Tongson rushed straight towards Mary Curio, who was lying on the ground. On the road where the two were charging forward, Zabuza, who had just been melted by the fireball, appeared at some point beside Shin Akamura and the others, wielding his huge slashing sword and aiming it diagonally at Shin Akamura, who was constantly approaching Mary Curio. The enormous cleaver carried wind blades powerful enough to cut through anything, as if it were about to cleave Akamura, Shin, and Toyama Karan in two. Kyukungsen seemed oblivious, simply charging forward alongside Tonshin Huali. The blade was about to behead Kyukungsen. The massive scythe stood between the cleaver and Shin Akamura, taking the fatal blow for him. "You're a bit slow." Kimura helped Curio marry up, and a green light shone from the center of Tonshin Karan's palm as he smoothed out the gash in Curio Mary's abdomen. Cough, cough, what are you all doing? Stop talking nonsense and get going. Yang Zhen formed hand seals, and his chakra was suddenly activated. Water release, mist concealment technique thick fog once again spread through the space. The game of hide and seek between Class 7 and the demon begins. End of this chapter. Chapter 19 Ghosts and Monsters. Chapter 19 Ghosts and Monsters. Zabuza Mamachi was somewhat annoyed as he looked at the mist that once again obscured the space before him. I originally thought it wouldn't take long to get rid of that woman. They were surprisingly resilient. The hidden mist technique, displayed with chakra comparable to a Jonin, even troubled someone skilled in silent assassination. Now we have a few more genin to help us. Although these people appear to be genin, even weak chunin might not be their match. A silent assassination technique and taijutsu similar to his own, a fire-style ninja with astonishing ninjutsu power, and surprisingly, a rare medical ninja in the team. This reasonable configuration seems like we've caught a big fish. But it doesn't matter. One's whereabouts must not be revealed to the Secret Service. If you can't solve the small problems in front of you, there will only be more big problems in the future. They're just 3 genin and 1 special jonin. Taking them out is only a matter of time. Think for a moment. Zabuza, wielding his greatsword, was about to continue his pursuit. Dong dong dong. Strange noises suddenly came from the mist behind them. Zabuza turned around warily. Despite his mastery of silent assassination techniques, he was precisely captured in the mist. Zabuza Mamachi, can we talk? A clear female voice accompanied a white figure. A mysterious blind woman holding a white cane, wearing a white cloak, and with a black blindfold covering her face, suddenly appeared. There was no hesitation. A fierce glint flashed in Zabuza's eyes as he swung his executioner's blade in a black semicircle, producing a whooshing sound like a windmill as it pierced through the mist and slashed straight at the girl's head. He couldn't care less how the other party pinpointed his location. That one strike severed her completely. Ding! Exclamation! The porcelain-like arm was raised into the air, seemingly slowly but actually quickly, and a single index finger was raised to precisely block the blade of the cleaver, carrying terrifying force. The girl's fair flesh collided with the black cleaver, producing a piercing metallic clang. The powerful impact seemed to vanish into thin air, completely swallowed by the girl's small body, without even her fingers trembling slightly. Slender fingers pressed against the sharp blade. Black and white, big and small, the extreme contrast brings a more powerful visual impact than a snap of the fingers clang. Exclamation! It sounded like a bell tolling. The massive decapitation blade trembled violently before snapping in two with a crack. The once fierce gaze, now clear, was no longer murderous. Retreat! Creak! The woman's body, completely covered by a cloak, suddenly emitted a strange sound, like a ferocious beast grinding its teeth and sucking blood, vigorously chewing on the shin bone of its prey. Strange fleshy bulges occasionally appeared beneath the small cloak, and the beautiful blind girl gradually lost her human form. Zabuza's expression shifted from cold and hesitant to horrified. Countless twisted, pale white skeletal hands struggled to emerge from the gaps in the girl's cloak, as if a hole leading to hell was hidden beneath the white cloak. Her silvery white hair tangled and twisted like a raging python, yet was as sharp as steel needles. The mysterious girl maintained a completely unchanged expression throughout, her exquisitely beautiful features creating a peculiar uncanny valley effect. I don't want to kill in this ugly state, please, Zabuza-san. Staring at the bizarre humanoid monster before him. Gum! Zabuza, who had killed countless people, couldn't help but swallow hard and quietly took a half-step back. He was known as the Ghost Man. It's like a ghost story. Teacher Truth, how is it? Sweat beaded on Yamjan's forehead as he formed hand seals, maintaining the vast-scale mist concealment technique, nearly exhausting his energy. He's not going to die yet. Kiryomari leaned on Akamura Shin's shoulder, her beautiful face pale from blood loss. The bleeding from the abdominal wound has stopped, the shoulder bone is dislocated, and there should be a minor fracture. The rest are just superficial injuries. A little rest will do the trick. With both hands pressed against the incision on Kiryomari's abdomen, the emerald light of the palm healing technique made Karen's eyes appear even more vibrant. Kyu Kungsan nodded happily. Although Koizumi Karen has the lowest combat power in the team, she has mastered highly difficult medical ninjutsu at the age of a genin, making her an undisputed genius ninja. If she says it's okay, then it must be okay. You shouldn't have come looking for me. The enemy is Zabuza Mamachi, one of the former 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist. He also has a monster from the Minazuki family by his side. We have no chance of winning. Kiryomari spoke weakly, and when she mentioned Minazuki, her beautiful features were filled with a twisted killing intent. Minazuki? Aren't they already? I saw that monster use ice release. Zabuza Minazuki. Shinichi Akamura murmured his opponent's name softly. unable to manage a smile even though he was a natural optimist. Zabuza needs no introduction. He is an elite jonin skilled in water release and silent assassination techniques, and can be seen as an evolved version of Super Aizen. The Mizuki clan of Kirigakure is even more formidable. Their inherited ice release bloodline limit is the absolute nemesis of fire release. It's no use saying anything, we're already here. Endoma turned around from behind Kuryu Mary, his handsome profile showing an indescribable seriousness. No matter what, you must never betray your companions. This is the most important rule you set for us when we were assigned to different classes upon graduation. It is precisely because you are different from the ninjas of the village of Blood Mist that we have gathered under your command without complaint, willing to be at your beck and call. Don't let us down, Teacher Makoto. TCH. It's so embarrassing for me, as a teacher, to be lectured by my students. Clatter. Hiss. With a sickening cracking sound, Kuryu Mary gritted her teeth and moved her dislocated right arm a couple of times. Huali, try to use some anesthetic next time. Let's get through this first. Tonshin Huali shrugged, the emerald chakra light in her palm dimming and disappearing. Speaking of which, we've been healing here for so long, why don't we kill someone else? The fog in the dense forest gradually thinned. Huili reinserted the mutated bones into her body and bent down to pick up the white cane from the ground. After his full force attack was blocked by a single finger, Zabuza then tentatively attacked Kairi's eyes, which were hidden under a black cloth, with a senbon needle. I saw the steel senbon that had been flung and bent by my eyes. He turned and left, as if he had made some kind of decision. Through the fog, Huili looked at the 4 unharmed people, then returned to the camp with her cane. One life saved another. They helped her escape from the fog, and she reciprocated their kindness. Harry wasn't surprised that Zabuza, an elite jonin, had defeated him with the strength of a chunin. The world of Naruto is not like the fantasy or cultivation world of my previous life. A difference of 1 level can be fatal. Below the cage level, intelligence and restraint remain the primary factors. The most prominent example is the battle between Nara Shikamaru and Hidden. Nara Shikamaru, who only had the strength of a chunin, managed to defeat Hidden, whose abilities seemed unbeatable thanks to prior intelligence and superb tactics. The Kuryu squad would be slowly killed by Zabuza's silent killing technique. Gray Glass faces the Chestnut squad. Unable to withstand Kuryu Mary's water release and Nakamura Shin's powerful fire release, coupled with Oma's taijutsu restraint and Koyama Karen's endurance, she was definitely no match for them. However, while Harry couldn't defeat the Kuryu squad, she could still completely defeat Zabuza. Not only was the information transparent, but most importantly, Zabuza and she were incompatible. Her most proficient techniques, silent killing and mist concealment, are completely countered by the Byakugan. Pure physical attacks without any special effects cannot penetrate her steel-like body. The powerful impact of the water-style attack is also a physical attack. As long as her internal organs can withstand it, she can easily withstand it. The only threat she could pose was the water prison technique, which was very slow. Within the Byakugan's 360-degree field of vision, all chakra reactions emitted a blinding light. Complete restraint. There's no logic to it, it's a natural counter. From the very beginning, Zabuza was no match for her, even though Zabuza was much stronger than her. She precisely located Zabuza within the hidden mist technique. When Zabuza used all his muscles to block Zabuza's executioner's blade in a way that seemed easy but wasn't particularly difficult, he also came to understand this objective fact. Gray Glass. Kuryu Mary's voice suddenly echoed in the air. I'm here. Seeing Kuryu Mary and the other 3 running over quickly, Harry pretended to be delighted and stood up. Sister Genli, are you all right? Don't say anything, let's go. Kuryu Mary picked up Hyuga directly, but unlike usual, Hyuga's unusually heavy weight after the modification caused Kuryu Mary to stumble and almost fall. She assumed it was because she was exhausted from her recent injuries and didn't think much of it, carrying Huili away quickly. Tanshin Huali picked up the supplies on the ground, while behind her, Kyukunzin and Yamjin concealed their whereabouts to prevent Zabuza from pursuing them. The 4 members of the Hidden Mist team, along with the unassuming and meritorious Hai Rai, embark on their journey to the Land of Fire amidst a tense atmosphere. End of this chapter. Chapter 20 Losing Control. Chapter 20 Losing Control. Moon stars are rare. The ancient trees, towering and hidden in the darkness, with their dense and uneven branches, resembled terrifying figures with outstretched arms under the cold moonlight. The moths seemed to be afraid and anxiously flew towards the only light in the dark forest, but before they could get close, they were nailed back to the tree trunk by 1,000 thorns of unknown origin. Mary plucked 1,000 moths and flicked the moths that were still struggling to kick their legs aside. Kyukunksen fanned the fire, and the chicken's skin, roasted to a light brown color, glistened with a delicate sheen of oil. The dripping oil fell deep into the flames, making an enticing sizzling sound. Harry and the others, who had just had a skirmish with Zabuza, sat around the fire, discussing the day's adventures. Gray glass, let me tell you, that scene was extremely dangerous. If I hadn't used fire release in that critical moment. Chan Q was gesturing wildly as he spoke to Huey Lai. Brother Q is really amazing. Huey Lai stared at the roasting chicken rolling on the grill, swallowing hard as she offered emotional support to Q Kunksen. Gray glass, don't listen to his nonsense. Tanshin Huali rolled her eyes at Kyukunzin, who had satisfied his desire to share, and ruthlessly interrupted his unrealistic narration. Seeing that her job had been taken over by Koizumi Karin, Oma turned over the roast chicken and looked at Mary with a serious expression. What's wrong, Teacher Makoto? Mary shook her head. It's nothing. I was just wondering why Zabuza let us go. Mary Curio is still shaken by the crisis that happened this morning. If Zabuza Mamachi hadn't left for some unknown reason, they would probably have perished in the fog long ago. How did Zabuza end up here? Could it be related to the mysterious disappearances of high-ranking officials in the village? Where did that blood-stained ninja with ice-style ninjutsu next to him come from? Why did he suddenly let them go? Did a kind ninja who happened to be passing by save them? The more she thought about it, the more mysteries filled Mary's mind. Things that seemed completely unrelated were tangled together in Mary's mind, like a huge ball of yarn. Stop thinking about that. Isn't it the best outcome that no one got hurt? Can we eat now? Huey Lai's childish voice interrupted Mary's thoughts. Looking at the adorable Huey Lai rubbing her little hands together, looking like she was possessed by a glutton, Mary couldn't help but show a doting smile, putting all the questions from the day behind her. We may have to wait a little longer. After examining it, Kyukunksen was a little unsure. Huey Lai nodded. Under his disapproving gaze, the roast chicken was already fully cooked. She didn't know much about Akamura's new fire-style techniques, but his cooking skills were definitely just so-so. The group chatted idly for a while. Somehow, the conversation turned to the ice-style ninjas around Zabuza. What a pity we didn't kill that ice escape monster, Kimura Shin said, slapping his thigh in frustration. No rush, we'll wipe out those monsters sooner or later. When the topic of bloodline ninjas came up, Mary's azure eyes flashed with a fierce light that was unfamiliar to Hai Lai. Her beautiful features were twisted with ruthlessness, making no attempt to hide her burning killing intent. What's wrong with bloodline ninjas? Huey Lai asked, puzzled. Those were monsters, they weren't human. Teacher Lai's family was Hanashi. Yamjin gave Karin a wink, and Karin glanced at Mary's gloomy face, stuck out her tongue in regret, and said no more. Seeing this, Huey Lai decided not to press the matter further. All right. The roast chicken is ready, everyone, let's eat. Shin Akamura deliberately made a loud noise to liven up the atmosphere, using kunai to divide the food for everyone. Here you go, gray glass. He took the wooden stick with a roasted chicken on it, and the scorching firelight shone on his pale, porcelain-like face, reflecting a faint orange hue. The enticing aroma of meat suddenly made her feel less hungry. Let's go back to yesterday morning. Fog-hidden hospital. The pungent smell of disinfectant filled the stark white room, and a pale pink water jar stood alone beside the bed. Cough, 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 cough. Wearing a striped hospital gown, Takuto leaned weakly against the headboard, his once strong chest heaving as he gasped for breath. Vomit! Takuto lay slumped over the bed, his head tilted to the side, vomiting blood clots. The blood clots were dark red, splashing and tumbling as they hit the water jar on the floor. The surface blood was washed away, and the pink water turned a deep red. Only then did people see the true nature of the blood clots. They weren't blood at all, but rather chunks of organs with blood vessels still attached. I rolled up my sleeves and looked at my arms. Its arms were an eerie light blue, with smooth skin covered in a thick layer of mucus, resembling some kind of bizarre deep-sea monster. I closed my eyes in disgust. Master Yuan is right. The modification of the three-tailed Isabu's chakra is indeed something that ordinary people cannot withstand. Even a tiny bit of it will cost them their lives. But Takuto Tobiok was willing to do so. Although wild grasses are very resilient, they can only survive by adapting to their environment. If you want to change the environment, you have to ignite it! The Mizukage solution was lifted along with the Forbidden Village Order. Master Genji is currently dealing with the backlog of affairs with the Mizukage, and Ao has also agreed to cooperate with the Anbu's operation to capture spies. He did it. The blood mist that had hung over the hidden mist finally dissipated, and in the afterlife he could hold his head high and speak to Hoshino. Express your own contributions to it. But there is one more important thing to do before that. He wiped the blood from his lips with the back of his hand. I don't know how many times this has happened. Takuto started from the beginning, analyzing the information of the suspects leaving the village one by one, trying to find the enemy's weakness. Why can't I find it? Takuto opened his eyes wearily, his lifeless gaze constantly scanning the list of suspects that he already knew by heart. These people have already been checked by Master King, no problem. The man appeared and disappeared like a ghost, but he took the lives of his brother and his entire family. The only one who left the village and wasn't checked by King Darren was this blind woman. Takuto stared at the photo at the top of the list. She was a girl with long, silver-gray hair, blood dripping from her fingers, and a delicate face. Her youthful face was covered by a large black blindfold, giving her an air of endless mystery. No chakra fluctuations, no calluses from taijutsu training on the fists and palms, smooth muscles and delicate, uninjured skin. The report contained only a few lines, but Takuto Hachai already knew the information about each person on it by heart. Where is it? Where is the problem? His lifeless eyes stared mechanically at the report in front of him until my gaze was fixed on those last few words. A flash of inspiration. Skin is smooth and unharmed. Cough, cough, cough. Takuto Sadok's sudden loud noise startled the nurse waiting outside, who quickly opened the door to check. Sir, what's wrong with you? At this moment, the eyes of Takuto Toik, who was coughing up blood, which had long since lost their light due to exhaustion of life, suddenly became bright again as if in a final burst of light. How could a blind girl who has no one to take care of her not have any scars on her body? Damn! I should have thought of it earlier. He beat his chest in regret. Cough, cough, cough. All the Mist Raven over the nurse rushed out in a panic, and a moment later, Mist Raven, dressed in the uniform of the Dark Guard, quickly arrived at the ward team leader. The Fog Crow lowered its head and inquired. The murderer who killed the fox spirit has been found. It was this blind woman. Takuto Tobiak held up the list, his finger poking hard at the girl wearing a blindfold, as if he wanted to pierce a bloody hole in her body across space and time. You and Bloodhound go cough, cough, cough. Your body cough, cough, cough before I die. Whatever method you use, bring me her head. This is my final order. Mist Raven looked at the trembling captain, but with eyes as firm as swords. The flippant tone became more serious. I obey my orders. End of this chapter. Alright, legends, that's it for today. If you're ready for the next chapter, smash that like button and flood the comments right now. Remember, we've got 3 days to prove this story needs to continue. Subscribe so you don't miss the drop, and I'll meet you in the next audiobook.